Chapter 709. Everyone is here? Lin Muyu brushed off the snow on his shoulders and said with a smile. He was still wearing autumn clothes, but it was already winter. Come. Situ Shui was meticulous. She took a leather robe embroidered with golden purple flowers from the servant and handed it to Lin Muyu. She said with a smile, Madam, put it on. It's winter again this year. Although you are a god state cultivator, you still need clothes to keep out the cold. Thank you, Shui. Lin Muyu accepted it gladly. She turned around and put on the robe. It was indeed much warmer. Everyone stood in the same place happily. Only Tang Xiaoxi stood alone in the snow. She still didn't know how to face Lin Muyu, and the knot in Lin Muyu's heart had not been untied. But it was different this time. Let's go back to Heaven Connect City? Lin Muyu touched her stomach and said, I haven't had a good meal in the ghost domain for almost a month. Shouldn't you have prepared delicious food to entertain me? Wei Chou chuckled. Your Highness, rest assured. Every night at midnight, General Shui ordered the Spiritual Fire Department to prepare a table of good dishes. It's just that Your Highness didn't come back until today. That table of good dishes has been taken advantage of by us. Haha, let's go. Lin Muyu walked straight out of the forest. When she passed by Tang Xiaoxi, she inadvertently held her hand and whispered, Why are you still in a daze? Let's go back and eat something delicious. Oh. Tang Xiaoxi was happy and puzzled. She let Lin Muyu hold her hand. The scenery of the ghost domain is not bad, right? Lin Muyu suddenly asked. It's all right. How is Xiaoyin now? Tang Xiaoxi hesitated for a moment and said, She asked me to tell you that you have to take good care of yourself and wait for her to come back. Mumu, you don't blame me? Lin Muyu turned around and smiled. She looked straight at her and said, Ouyingyan told me that you were bewitched by Yaoji and killed Xiaoyin. I don't blame you. Now that you have saved Xiaoyin's life, I can't thank you enough. Now you are still Tang Xiaoxi and I am still Lin Muyu. Let's wait for Xiaoyin to come back. Before she comes back, we have to work together to protect this family. Yes. A smile appeared on Tang Xiaoxi's face. A huge stone had finally been lifted from her heart. This was the first time she had smiled so happily since she had returned from the devil race. Lin Muyu squeezed her hand tightly. All this while, Tang Xiaoxi had been under a lot of pressure. How could he not know that? In fact, Tang Xiaoxi's life was even more difficult than his. Now that there was finally hope, he hoped that everything could return to the good old days. What is Xiaoyin's next reincarnation? Lin Muyu mounted the horse and asked. Tang Xiaoxi rode another white horse and said, Azura Path. Azura Path? Yes. What is Azura? Hunters who walk in the three realms. They are neither human nor ghost nor god. The 5 ghost emperors said that Azura is good and bad. They are born to hunt. I see. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, What comes after the Azura Path? The last reincarnation, the Heavenly Tao. As long as Xiaoyin survives the Heavenly Tao, she'll be able to form a true body of flesh and blood, and return to the 3 realms. Tang Xiaoxi was moved, but the 5 ghost emperors also said that Xiaoyin will forget the past, whether it's the Azura Path or the Heavenly Tao. This is her own cultivation, and no one else can control it. I understand. Lin Muyu clenched his fists. All these years he'd been forced to do things against his will. Although he had the disposition of a supreme being, there were too many things he couldn't control. This was probably fate. Some things were destined to go with the flow, and couldn't be forced. Skyspan City, King Qin's mansion. It was brightly lit and bustling. Almost all the commanders and captaincy generals in the Longdan army camp were present. Even the administrative officials of Skyspan Province and Lingdong Province were gathered to celebrate the return of Lin Muyu, the king of Qin. Lin Muyu didn't drink. He only ate meat. He was one person short of eating a deer. Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Yao just watched him eat with smiles on their faces. This was also a form of enjoyment for them. Xiaoxi, I brought you a gift. Oh, what is it? Lin Muyu took out a book from her cosmos sack with a swoosh. It was a black ancient book, and its surface was enshrouded with a faint ghostly aura. Lin Muyu moved her fingers lightly, and the pages of the book flipped open. The azure blue light was dense, and immediately, A chill spread out in the originally warm and harmonious main hall. Everyone looked over at the same time, and they were all dumbfounded. What is this? Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. Lin Muyu said, "This is the Ghost Book of Nether Springs. I got it from the Ghost Emperor of East Unicorn. It's an extremely and soft magic tool, and also a type of weapon. However, my physique isn't suitable for using this book, so take a look. If you like it, I'll give it to you. As long as you use it properly, the Ghost Book of Nether Springs can greatly increase your strength." Tang Xiaoxi reached out and touched the pages of the book. Immediately, a powerful yin qi surrounded her palm. She couldn't help but cry out in surprise. She immediately transformed into her nine-tailed form. With a swish, raging flames flew up, and a pair of golden eyes stared at the Ghost Book of Nether Springs. Tang Xiaoxi's fingers were wrapped in raging flames, and she resisted the yin qi in the book. Could something have happened? Chu Yao was forced back several meters, and she looked on worriedly. No. Lin Muyu shook her head and said confidently, "This is Xiaoxi and the Ghost Book of Nether Springs communicating." Oh. Chu Yao was doubtful. Tang Xiaoxi looked like she was about to fight. How could there be such a communication? But in reality, Tang Xiaoxi was indeed communicating with the Ghost Book of Nether Springs with a kind of power. This was a process of recognizing its master. If Tang Xiaoxi's godly power wasn't enough to make the Ghost Book of Nether Springs submit, then she would lose the right to use the book. As a result, the raging flames became more and more biting cold. Even a fiery red spirit pearl of law danced around Tang Xiaoxi's body. She actually took out a spirit pearl of law. Lin Muyu was secretly shocked. After not seeing her for a long time, Tang Xiaoxi's strength seemed to have increased a lot. Ouyang Yan and Chu Chu both said that only the first 3 grades of Godhead could condense Spirit Pearl of Law. It seemed like Tang Xiaoxi's Godhead had already broken through to the caste Immortal Godhead. Finally, after about 10 minutes, the light of the Ghost Book of Nether Springs began to dim. Small beads of sweat appeared on Tang Xiaoxi's forehead. She quickly closed the Ghost Book of Nether Springs and put it into the spatial bag at her waist. She said with a smile, "Thank you, Mu, I like this gift very much." "It's good that you like it." Lin Muyu sat down again as if nothing had happened. Wei Chou, Chu Yao, Situ-san, and the others were a little speechless. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation was far beyond their reach. These 2 freakishly strong fellows' casual words perhaps represented a realm that they would never be able to reach in their entire lives. At this time, Chu Yao said softly, "Half a month ago, Lanyan City sent a letter saying that they found a descendant of the Seven Seas Tang sect. That person's name is Tang Zong, the illegitimate son of the Seven Seas King, Tang Lan's second son, Tang Jing. He is Tang Bin and Tang Lu's half-brother, and will be conferred the title of Northern Duke in 5 days. A Yen and Suyu wrote that if you can make it, it's best if you bring Xiaoxi back to Lanyan City to participate in the conferring ceremony. After all, as the King of Qin, you should be present." "So, Big Brother Feng will also return to Lanyan City in 5 days? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Chu Yao nodded vigorously. "That's great. I also happen to have a gift for him," Lin Muyu said excitedly. But Chu Yao's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of disappointment. Lin Muyu saw it clearly and hurriedly said with a smile, "Big sister Chu Yao, I risked my life this time because I really don't have time to go shopping and buy gifts for you because most of the gifts I brought back are bloody. I believe you don't want them either." Chu Yao chuckled. "I'm very happy that you have this kind of heart. By the way, where's Grandpa Chu Chu? He went into the mountains to collect herbs these 2 days. You don't have to worry about him. Just go and do your thing." Lin Muyu looked at the crowd and said, "How is everyone these days?" Situ-san cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, I haven't made any progress in the cultivation of star tactics. I hope Your Highness can take some time to teach me." "And no problem. Where's Wei Chou?" Wei Chou said happily, "Your Highness, I've stepped into the sanctuary realm under Chu's guidance." "Great, that's great." Lin Muyu slapped her thigh and said, "All of you need to step into the sanctuary realm soon. I don't want to be in my 20s while all of you are doddering old men. That would make me very sad." Everyone laughed loudly. At this time, Lin Muyu thought of something and said, Weicho, I have a demon god divinity here. If you don't mind, I can help you refine this divinity and start to nurture the divine power in your body to speed up your cultivation. But there will be a certain degree of danger. Are you willing? Weicho was overjoyed and he cupped his fists and said, I'll listen to your highness's arrangements. Great. Lin Muyu's idea was very simple. It was the method used by the 7 luminaries demon emperor back then. She injected a strand of divine power into a mortal's body. As long as the mortal's body could withstand it, the divine power would be very beneficial, and could even help him step into the immortal state in advance. At night, the side hall was filled with a piercingly cold light. Lin Muyu took out her treasure cauldron and started refining the demon god divinity. The demon god divinity was roughly the same grade as the heavenly Tao divinity. It wasn't too strong, but with Lin Muyu's supremacy divinity, it was definitely able to suppress it. Although the refining process was difficult, it was still a success. When the sun rose, the demon god divinity had already dissipated. More than 70% of the divine power was lost. Close to 10% of the divine power was absorbed by Weicho and the remaining 20% was refined by Lin Muyu. When the sun rose, Weicho sat cross-legged on the ground. He could already guide the divine power to circulate in his body. Lin Muyu clenched her fists and waves of energy surged through her body. A total of 21 heavenly caves. So she had also broken through to the 21st heavenly cave realm. The cultivation of the immortal state couldn't be rushed. The right path was to improve bit by bit. Many thanks, Your Highness. Weicho opened his eyes and said with a face full of joy. There was a hidden divine light in his eyes. You're welcome. Lin Muyu kept the treasure cauldron and suddenly asked, Weicho, how is the matter of building a naval fleet going? I and the Navy Commander Beilitsong are already working on it. However, building a shipyard costs too much money. So for the time being, the shipyard in Lanyan City is only building warships. Please rest assured, Your Highness, there won't be any battles on the sea for the time being. Those clowns from Iha Nation are not a threat at all. Don't be negligent. We must build a naval fleet that can sweep across the sea as soon as possible. Yes. Lin Muyu didn't know why she always wanted to build a naval fleet, but she just couldn't feel at ease. She had a feeling that the current Imperial Navy was like the Northern Seas Navy. Once a new enemy appeared on the sea, the Imperial Navy would not be able to withstand a single blow. Chapter 710. 3 days later, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi set off for Lanyan City with light luggage. Both of them were god-level experts, and with their ability to fly and travel, they could rush back to Lanyan City in a day. Ouyangyan wanted to come along, but Lin Muyu forced her to stay in Heaven Connect City. Heaven Connect City needed a god-level expert to guard it. After all, the demon race's strength was still there, so they couldn't afford to neglect it. At dusk, the forest outside Lanyan City had already lost all its leaves. It was barren, and the scene of old trees and crows could not help but make one sigh with emotion. Years passed. This city was like an old man that had experienced the vicissitudes of life, still standing there. It was just that the people had changed. Qin Jin, Chu Huaying, Qin Lei, Lei Hong and the others were no longer around. They had also taken away the memories and time that once belonged to this place. In the sky, 2 figures flew past and directly flew into the imperial capital. It was Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi. They arrived at Zetian Palace before the sky turned dark, which surprised them more or less. From Lanyan City to Heaven Connect City, it would take at least 10 days even on horseback. However, with the 2 god-level experts, it only took a day. Outside Zetian Palace, the bamboo leaves were green, and the garden in the palace naturally maintained a sense of spring. Rows of royal guards walked between the pavilions with their hands on the hilts of their swords, protecting the safety of the empire. Who is it? The commander of the dragon guards looked up at the sky and said, Come out. This person's cultivation was not bad. Suyu's judgment would not be wrong. The commander of the royal guards that she had chosen was also a top-notch expert. Although he was very young, his cultivation was at least at the 3rd level of the heaven realm. Papa. 2 beams of purple light flashed out. They were spatial cracks. Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's figures appeared in the empty space in front of Zetian Palace. A group of royal guards rushed forward and knelt in a row. "Greetings, Your Highness King Qin." "Greetings, Princess Shi." "No need for formalities, please rise." Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, "Bring me to Yan and Aunt Luo." "Yes." After receiving the report, Qin Yan and Suyu walked straight out of the Great Hall. Qin Yan had a look of joy. "Big brother, you're back." As the loyal prince, this brat still maintained the simplicity and innocence of the past. Qin Yan, who was infatuated with the cultivation of martial arts, had already stepped into the Saint Heaven realm, and was only a step away from the God realm. However, his cultivation in the art of a ruler and shrewdness was equivalent to zero. If not for Suyu assisting him, the Zetian Palace would probably have changed owners in less than half a year. Lin Muyu hugged Qin Yan, the two of them laughing heartily. The joy of reuniting after a long time was self-evident. Subsequently, Qin Yan turned around to look at Tang Xiaoxi, and cupped his fists respectfully. "Qin Yan greets Princess Shi." Tang Xiaoxi helped him up. "Your Highness Prince Zhong, you don't have to be so polite." Suyu smiled and said, "Since the two of you are travel-worn, you can stay in the Zetian Palace Hall. I will immediately order people to prepare dinner. Is there anything in particular you want to eat?" "It's fine as long as it's Zetian Palace Hall's food." Lin Muyu rubbed her hands and said, "It's been a long time since I've eaten in Lanyan City. Such a good opportunity is hard to come by. Don't you think so, Xiaoxi?" Tang Xiaoxi nodded, feeling a lump in her throat, but she did not speak. Back then, she, Lin Muyu, and Qin Yin were all in Lanyan City, and the memories of tasting the delicacies of the Zetian Palace Hall together seemed to be gone forever. Now that she returned to the Zetian Palace Hall again, she felt especially upset in her heart. She really wished that Qin Yin was right in front of her, and that the people she cared about were still around. However, the affairs of the world were unpredictable, and no one could have everything go as they wished. Not long after entering the Great Hall, the loud call of an attendant came from outside the hall. "The Duke of the North, Tang Zong, requests an audience." "Tang Zong is here." Su'er stood up and said with a smile, "Xiaoxi, he's the son of your second uncle Tang Jin." Tang Xiaoxi nodded and smiled. Tang Lan and Tang Lu's rebellion was already something that had been hammered into an iron plate. However, the empire had not uprooted the Tang family, but had even found a branch of the Tang family's bloodline. How could Tang Xiaoxi not know how much effort they had put into this? Tang Zong walked in wearing a white robe. His expression was handsome, and he was no longer that little blacksmith from before. His eyes were extremely clear, and after entering, he knelt down on one knee. "Tang Zong pays his respects to Your Highness, Prince Zhong. Pays his respects to Marquis Xining." Suyu smiled. "Tang Zong, there are two more people. Why don't you pay your respects?" Tang Zong was startled, because he did not recognize these two people at all. Although he could tell at a glance that Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi were not ordinary people. After all, they had not masked their faces. Suyu smiled, pointed at Lin Muyu, and said, "This is Her Highness Lin Muyu, the Prince of Qin." Tang Zong hurriedly knelt down again. "This humble subject pays his respects to Your Highness, the Prince of Qin. No need to be so polite." Suyu then pointed at Tang Xiaoxi and said, "Tang Zong, do you know who this beauty is?" Tang Zong doesn't know. He shook his head in confusion. Su'er lightly laughed. "She's your older cousin Tang Xiaoxi. She's also your only relative in the Zetian Palace. Hurry and get to know her. In the future you'll be family." "Older cousin." Tang Zong's eyes couldn't help but redden. "Are you really my older cousin?" Tang Xiaoxi walked up and gently stroked Tang Zong's arms, helping him up. She said, "As expected, you look a lot like second uncle when he was young." Tang Zong hurriedly bowed again. Tang Zong pays his respects to older cousin. "Oh no, pays his respects to the Fugua princess." Tang Xiaoxi giggled. "Silly boy, stop bowing. Why are you bowing so much? Don't call me the Fugua princess, just call me older cousin. Hurry and get up. Since you're here, why don't you have dinner with us tonight?" "Yes, older cousin." Tang Xiaoxi looked at Tang Zong's honest appearance and said with a smile, "Tang Zong, from now on, you're the successor of our Tang family. I'll teach you the mental cultivation method of the firefox seal. I hope that you'll cultivate well and be loyal to the Empire. Don't disappoint everyone's high regard and love for you. All right. Thank you, older cousin. Tang Zong naturally knew the importance of Tang Xiaoxi's words. This was equivalent to Tang Xiaoxi acknowledging her identity as a member of the Tang clan. This was something that Tang Zong had always dreamed of. Moreover, it was publicly acknowledged that one couldn't become the master of the Seven Seas Tang sect without cultivating the firefox seal. Tang Xiaoxi personally imparting the firefox seal was a great honor. A little later, a winged cavalry warrior came to report. Prince Xian Feng Jixing's convoy has entered Lanyan City and is heading toward the Zetian Palace. Dinner isn't ready yet. Big Brother Feng has finally made it in time for dinner. He's really in a hurry. Lin Muyu smiled. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, Mu, should we go and welcome General Feng? Lin Muyu nodded. Seeing that Tang Xiaoxi didn't harbor any hatred toward Feng Jixing, he felt at ease. After all, the 100 traitors from the Tang clan, as well as Tang Lu, were all killed by Feng Jixing. If Tang Xiaoxi hated Feng Jixing, there was nothing wrong with that. However, Tang Xiaoxi was a righteous person and knew that Tang Lu and the others were courting death by themselves and had nothing to do with others. Not long after, several tens of riders left the Zetian Palace, heading toward the Tongtian Street to welcome Prince Xian. From afar, there was an endless stream of carriages, and the flags of Prince Xian and the Empire's purple Yinhua were connected together. Feng Jixing was riding at the very front of the crowd, flying over. When he saw Lin Muyu from afar, he could not help but let out a hearty laugh and say, You're really early. That's right. To think that you even got a guard of honor to come over. Lin Muyu touched her nose and said, Big Brother Feng, you've changed. You're no longer that simple and unadorned. You've started to pay attention to extravagance and the prestige of a king. Sai, I really didn't expect this. Feng Jixing smiled unhappily and said, I really feel like hitting you. Do you think that I don't want to fly to Lanyan City alone? But look at what the carriages behind me are transporting. There are over 1,000 heavenly books, a tremendous amount of weapons, shields, armors, and rations, as well as 500 carriages of gold and silver. If I don't personally escort them and get robbed by the mountain bandits on the way, wouldn't I be busy in Lingnan for the past half a year? All right. You're right. The food in the Zetian Palace is almost ready. Let's go in and eat while we talk. All right. In the palace, a group of maids and attendants kept on serving the dishes. A total of 3 tables had been set up. After all, Feng Jixing had brought back Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, Chen Xiaoli, and the other generals. There was a need to arrange tables for them. Big Brother Feng, I have something to show you. Lin Muyu pulled Feng Jixing to a corner of the palace and took out 2 sabers from her Qingkuan bag. One was enshrouded in flames while the other was surrounded by wind blades. They were the Crimson Phoenix and Azure Dragon divine weapons. Both of them were subdivine grade and much stronger than the Saint grade Wind Cutter saber. Oh my god! Feng Jixing could no longer remain calm. He grabbed the Crimson Phoenix with one hand and felt a wave of blazing energy surging into his palm. It actually fused with his law of fire and divine power in an instant. It was as if the saber had instantly become a part of his body. He instantly entered the realm of being one with the saber. He frowned immediately. These 2 sabers are mine. Do you know how to use dual sabers? Lin Muyu asked. Ha 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 ha. Feng Jixing laughed loudly. Are you kidding me? The wind saber technique that I created is a different path. It originally had a set of dual sabers. Don't worry. What's so special about these sabers? They're called the Crimson Phoenix and Azure Dragon respectively. They're the weapons of a sovereign in the ghost realm. Feng Jixing was stunned. You're actually helping me get weapons from the sovereign? I didn't. I killed him and took them while I was at it. But I'm not giving these 2 sabers to you for free. Lin Muyu said. Feng Jixing narrowed his eyes. Name your price. Don't be too harsh. The taxes in Lingnan aren't that high. Lin Muyu raised 2 fingers. Oh. Feng Jixing was overjoyed. At least you have a conscience. 2 million Jin coins is enough. Who said 2 million? I want 200 million Jin coins. What? 200 million? Feng Jixing was shocked. Do you think I'm a tycoon? 200 million Jin coins is enough to make the treasury of Xiang City lose a layer of its skin. That's right. Lin Muyu said. I still need to ask Yen for another 200 million. Together with the 100 million I have, it will be 500 million. Why do you need 500 million Jin coins? Feng Jixing was stunned. To build a dock in Lingdong province and build fortress ships and warships. Feng Jixing fell silent. But he knew that Lin Muyu's knowledge was definitely outstanding even on the continent. He nodded and said, all right, no problem. The Jin coins will arrive in Winterfrost City next month. Just let me know if you need anything else. Craftsmen, people who know how to build ships. Okay, I'll do my best. Chapter 7:11. To the north of the Tongtian Gorge, after passing through numerous mountain ranges, there was a plateau covered with a sea of snow. The Eight Wastelands, a vast plain, was once the gathering place of demons. However, the climate of the Eight Wastelands was very harsh. Over 7 out of 12 months of the year, it was covered with thick snow. Therefore, the grazing season and planting season could not exceed 5 months at most. However, such a barren plateau provided the main provisions for the hundreds of thousands of demons in the heaven-reaching gorge year after year. Several hundred years ago, the Demon King and the Saint Master led the majority of the demon race's population and army out of the Ba Wasteland, leaving only one aristocratic family of the demon race to guard the Ba Wasteland, which was the Nan family, a famous family of the demon race. Lianji, Lianhai, Bai Bing and other demon race experts came from the Nan family. For the past several hundred years, the Nan family's contributions couldn't go unnoticed. At this moment, the Eight Wastelands was covered with ice and snow. Looking into the distance, there were no signs of human habitation. Only a group of cavalrymen on the snowy plains were galloping towards a castle in the distance. Zhongnan City was the fief of the Nan family. The city wasn't big, but it still had a population of 200,000 demons. The cavalry team galloped into the city, heading straight for the city lord's mansion. At the front of the team was a young high-level demon with dashing eyebrows and starry eyes. A light red longsword hung from his waist, and there was a clear and arrogant expression on his face. Shen Baichuan was the son of Shen Xiang, the patriarch of the Zhongnan aristocratic family. At a young age, he had already stepped into the realm of a 6-star demon ancestor. In the younger generation of the demon race, his cultivation was second only to Qianfeng. Moreover, Shen Baichuan was well-versed in the art of war, and was said to be well-versed in both the pen and the sword. Back then, he was highly regarded by the Demon King and the Saint Master. If it weren't for the fact that he lost to Qianfeng in a martial arts competition, he would most likely be the #1 demon marshal. The inside of the mansion was empty and desolate. The white-bearded Shen Xiang sat on a stone bench in the courtyard, sipping tea. He said without turning his head, Baichuan, what's the matter? Shen Baichuan's expression was grave as he bowed and said, Father, are we going to keep waiting like this? Wait? What do you mean? Father, can't you tell? Shen Baichuan's eyes were cold. In the Battle of Tongtian Province, our god race suffered a crushing defeat. Qianfeng's command was weak, and Lin Muyu killed many of our warriors. Now the god race's military strength in the Tongtian Gorge is only half of what it was half a year ago. Our Zhongnan aristocratic families lived frugally. Did they squander our wealth like this? Shut up. Shen Xiang stood up and said sternly, His Majesty the Divine Emperor has made his own decision. You have no right to speak. Father. Shen Baichuan cupped his fists, his cloak fluttering behind him. His eyes were filled with determination as he said, Indecisiveness leads to chaos. If this continues, I'm afraid that the 10,000-year foundation of our Nan family will be dragged down by His Majesty the Divine Emperor for too long. Does Father want to be the sinner of the Nan family? Baichuan, why are you speaking so presumptuously today? Shen Xiang's eyes were filled with coldness. Shen Baichuan immediately knelt on the ground, his body trembling as he said, Because I just went to inspect the cities under my jurisdiction. There are people dying of starvation and cold everywhere, especially in Willow City. Almost half of the people in the city died of starvation. The people have lost their homes, and the plague is spreading everywhere. The divine capital wants us to provide 3 times the number of horses, food, and weapons. If Father agrees, I'm afraid the Nan family will be finished. Shen Xiang squinted his eyes and asked, "What do you want to do?" Shen Baichuan gritted his teeth. "I hope Father can let me go to Tongtian Gorge. I want to see His Majesty personally and ask him to change the overall strategy. Defending Tongtian Gorge will only cause our god race to lose again and again. Ever since Qianfeng married Her Highness Jing, he has been living like a prince. He's no longer as wise as he was in the past. If we let Qianfeng lead the god race's army, I'm afraid it will lead to the destruction of our god race." "Then how do you think the god race should defend against the enemy?" "The Empire's demonic crystal cannons are very powerful. They have a long range and great power. Even if they are not accurate enough, they are still very terrifying. They can dominate the entire battlefield. The energy of the Tongtian Gorge is getting weaker day by day. As long as the Empire gathers enough demonic crystal cannons, they can blast the Tongtian Gorge open and advance into the Tongtian Gorge step by step. The narrow terrain of the Tongtian Gorge is not conducive for large armies to fight. It's very difficult to use the roundabout strategy. Once the humans transport the demonic crystal cannons in, the Tongtian Gorge will become the burial ground of hundreds of thousands of god race warriors." So, Shen Baichuan took a deep breath. His eyes were full of wisdom as he said, "If I were the commander, I would order the god race to retreat from the Tongtian Gorge, give up the god's capital and enter the 8 wastelands. We will retreat in order to advance. We will disperse the armored demons and form an alliance with the northern desert tribes from the north. We will break through the northern gate of the Empire's Cloud Province and attack the Empire's army from the plains. As long as we get the Cloud Province, we will have the capital to continue to compete with the humans. Father, as the saying goes, water is unpredictable and soldiers are unpredictable. If we are trapped in the Tongtian Gorge, it will only lead to our destruction. That's all I have to say. Father, please judge the situation." Shen Xiang sat on the stone stool again. The cold stool made his buttocks feel cold. After a while, Shen Xiang said, "Why do you think that His Majesty the God Emperor will appreciate you and give you the title of Marshal?" "Because," Shen Baichuan smiled and said, "because Zhongnan family has 100,000 cavalrymen in the 8 wastelands. These 100,000 cavalrymen can protect His Majesty. If His Majesty doesn't retreat into the 8 wastelands, then our 100,000 cavalrymen can't provide such protection for His Majesty." Shen Xiang was startled. "Baichuan, what do you mean by that?" "What I mean is very clear. If Feng Yuan can become the god race's emperor, then Shen Xiang can also become the god race's emperor. If Feng Yuan is stubborn, then he can no longer be the god race's emperor." "You," Shen Xiang pondered for a long time before he waved his hand and said, "I'm tired. I'm going to sleep for a while. Baichuan, you decide everything yourself. This is the Zhongnan family's golden seal. You have to use it properly." With that, Shen Xiang stood up and walked shakily to his room. 2 graceful maids hurriedly came out to welcome him. On the other hand, Shen Baichuan's gaze was fixed on the stone table. There was a small and exquisite golden seal on the table. This golden seal was the symbol of the highest authority in the entire Nan aristocrat clan. It was the tiger seal that could mobilize 100,000 cavalrymen. Immediately, Shen Baichuan's heart pounded violently. He was actually so close to the highest authority. Wasn't this the day he had been dreaming of? His palm covered the golden seal's handle. Even the golden seal still had Shen Xiang's warmth. "Father, just watch. I will definitely revive the god race." 800 miles west of Lanyan City, an ancient city pass stood between the plains and the endless forest. It was the demon-subduing pass, a pass that had existed for a long time. It was the existence of the demon-subduing pass that prevented the millions of demons from invading the east, and ensured the long-term peace of Lanyan City. During the 4 years that Tang Xiaoxi had been in a coma in the Tongtian Gorge, the demons had repeatedly caused trouble at the pass. As a result, the Zetian Palace had ordered to increase the number of Marquis Zhenshi soldiers to 150,000. At the same time, the demon-subduing pass had been expanded to become a huge pass that could accommodate 150,000 soldiers. From the east of the pass, a man and a woman were walking side by side. They weren't walking fast, but they weren't slow either. "Sergeant, look, someone is coming over there." A young soldier stood up and pointed into the distance. Under the battlement, the sleepy middle-aged sergeant rubbed his eyes and glanced outside the wall. He couldn't help but frown and said, "That's strange. The demon-subduing pass is so desolate. The demon-subduing pass is full of demons who eat people without spitting out their bones. Who would come to the demon-subduing pass? Could it be that they are poachers who want to hunt spirit beasts in the endless forest?" "It doesn't look like it, sir. The leather robes that they are wearing seem to have the Qin clan's purple Yinhua emblem." "Ah." The sergeant squinted his eyes and took a closer look. He couldn't help but tremble. "Oh my God! That man is wearing 3 golden general stars and is wearing a noble battle robe. Could he be one of the 3 kings? Also, sir, that woman is wearing a princess robe. I've seen Princess Tang Wei in Lanyan City. She was wearing the same robe. Then, they must be His Highness Prince Qin and Princess Tang Xiaoxi. Ah, it can't be. Is it His Highness Prince Qin who has become a god?" At this moment, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had arrived at the bottom of the city. They leaped up and easily flew above the city. Tang Xiaoxi looked at the dumbfounded soldiers who didn't know whether they should shoot their arrows or not. She smiled and said, "Don't just stand there. Go and inform Lord Tangjin that Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu are here." Yes. A captaincy was overwhelmed by the favor and scrambled down the pass. Not long after, a martial artist wearing a silver battle robe sprinted down the cold stone steps. It was Tangjin. When he saw Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi in the air, Tangjin's body trembled. He knelt down on one knee and cupped his fists. "Subordinate Tangjin greets His Highness Prince Qin and Princess Xi." "No need to stand on ceremony." Tang Xiaoxi floated down and held Tangjin's arms. She smiled and said, "You've worked hard guarding the demon suppression pass for so many years." "Not at all," Tangjin said with some bitterness. "Princess Xi, you're finally back. Because Ling Huyen hasn't seen Princess Xi for too long, he thinks that the Empire has harmed you. So he has repeatedly violated the border. These years, the demon suppression pass has been in constant war. More than 20,000 soldiers have died for the Empire because of this." Tang Xiaoxi was startled and said softly, "Yes, I understand. I'll go to the Forest of Infinity with Mu in the afternoon to see Ling Huyen. Don't worry, the demon clan won't disturb the demon suppression pass anymore." "Thank you, Princess Xi." Tangjin was grateful and said, "I'll hold a banquet in the pass at noon to entertain Your Highness and Princess Xi." Although the demon suppression pass is very poor, there's still some game that can go with the wine. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. "Yes, that's good. Then send an envoy with the Tang Sect's Iron Order as a token to see Ling Huyen in the Forest of Infinity. Let her come to the demon suppression pass to apologize." "Yes." Tangjin was overjoyed. Chapter 7:12. On a winter afternoon, Lin Muyu and Tangjin hadn't seen each other for a long time. Moreover, they were in a bitter and cold place like the demon suppression pass, so they drank a few more cups of wine and were slightly tipsy. Standing side by side with Tangjin on the demon suppression pass, they gazed at the Forest of Infinity. The highest point of the demon suppression pass was at least 50 meters tall, and was the tallest building in the Forest of Infinity. The view was extremely wide, and they could see more than half of the Forest of Infinity. "Your Highness, look, how beautiful these mountains and rivers are." Tangjin gazed at the white snow in the distance, his face full of drunkenness. Lin Muyu couldn't help but point at the mountains and rivers, saying, "Although it's difficult, these mountains and rivers are gradually being incorporated into our territory. If the Qin Empire can be unified, you and I will both be heroes." Tangjin smiled. "I don't ask for any achievements, I just want to stand in this world and not let anyone down. Your Highness, you've been fighting all these years, it's really been hard on you." "What hard?" Lin Muyu laughed self-deprecatingly. "It's just like what you said, using war to stop war, to pacify the world, so that the people don't have to suffer the pain of war. All I want is to have a clear conscience. For 10 years, I've been fighting and killing, but I have a clear conscience. Those I've killed are those who deserve to be killed. Tang Jun was stunned for a moment, then said, I'll be fair. If Great Qin didn't have you, Lin Muyu, I'm afraid the chaos would continue for another 20 years. Xiang Yu, the Duke of Southern, killed 1 million people to save a city. That's an ambitious and ruthless person. Your Highness, you killed 1 person to save tens of thousands. That's a hero. The eyes of the world are bright, and they will see it very clearly. Lin Muyu laughed under the cover of her drunkenness and said clearly, If I had a choice, I wouldn't want to kill a single person. Who doesn't want to live a peaceful life? If I could choose, I'd rather plant 10 miles of peach blossoms and stay with the person I like. I'd no longer care about the affairs of the world. Who cares about the disputes between kings? Who cares about the flames of war? I'd be happy in Xiaoyao. It's just a pity. Tang Jun was even more drunk now, and he didn't care about the etiquette between a ruler and an official. He smiled and said, It's just a pity that the people you, Lin Muyu, like are the Empress and Princess Shi. No matter which one it is, they won't let you live such a romantic life, right? Lin Muyu chuckled and patted Tang Jun on the shoulder. It's good that you know that. A man should be responsible. I will defend the mission that Xiao Yin and Xiao Shi shoulder with them. Even if I am bruised all over, I will have no regrets. Tang Xiaoxi, who was listening at the side, was very touched. She raised her head and looked at Lin Muyu's handsome face, which was slightly red, and said, Mumu, are you really willing to guard the peach blossoms for me and Xiaoyin? Yes, I do. Lin Muyu nodded heavily. But I don't really like peaches. Tenli pear blossom it is then. I don't like pears either. Tenli grape trellis then. Grapes are too sour and hurt my teeth. Then, Lin Muyu was about to cry. Great aunt. What do you like to eat? Meat. Tang Xiaoxi held Lin Muyu's hand excitedly. Mu, after Xiao Yin returns and becomes successful, how about we go to the dragon forest to be hunters? Cloud deer meat for breakfast, mountain pork for lunch, and bear paw for dinner. What a wonderful life. Aren't you afraid of getting fat? Lin Muyu was helpless. Tang Jun smiled and said, Your Highness, don't forget that foxes eat meat. Tang Xiaoxi glared at Tang Jun. You are siding with an outsider. Tang Jun, are you still a member of the Tang family? Yes, how can I not be? Tang Jun grinned and said, Your Highness, I heard that you have met the illegitimate son of Second Master Tang Jin, Tang Zong in Lanyan City. Yes, I have. It's a pity that I have to guard the demon-subduing pass. Otherwise, I would like to go back and pay my respects to this Duke of Jinbei, the new master of the Seven Seas Tang sect. It's fine. After we meet Ling Huyan, you can naturally go back and see Tang Zong. Yes. Lin Muyu wanted to say something but stopped herself. Actually, everyone knew that although Tang Zong had been conferred the title of Duke of Jinbei, he was nothing compared to the 4 dukes, Wei Chou, Xiang Yu, Zheng Yifan and Luo Xian. First of all, Tang Zong's military strength was extremely limited. The power of life and death in the Seven Seas province was concentrated in the hands of Zetian Palace. But overall, it was still a good thing. After all, there was still a seedling left for the Seven Seas Tang sect. In truth, there were simply too many seedlings that wanted to find the Tang sect. Tang Lu and Tang Tian were both hedonistic young masters who had harmed many young girls among the common people when they were alive. If Xiao Han from the Fire Sparrow Division sent people to investigate, he could find at least 100 of them. But Lin Muyu couldn't be bothered to do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing. Since Qin Yin had chosen Tang Zong when she was alive, then so be it. In any case, this fellow was honest and kind. Fortune favors fools, and he would not incite Zheng Yifan's jealousy and be killed. At this moment, the sound of hooves and conch horns came from afar. The demons from the endless forest had arrived. The horses' hooves made a rustling sound on the snowy ground. Ling Huyan was dressed in a white robe. Her hair was elegantly coiled into a golden crown, and resplendent white diamond earrings swayed beside her ears. Her entire being was as beautiful as an elf in the snow. She was worthy of the title of the endless forest's #1 beauty. Behind her, hundreds of demon generals spurred their horses to follow. Not a single one of them dared to overstep Ling Huyan's position. After all, there was a difference in status. When Ling Huyan raised her head to look at the demon-subduing pass, she saw a vague figure that was very familiar. It was Tang Xiaoxi. Her Highness she. Ling Huyan's entire body trembled, and her nose felt sour. Without turning her head, she said to the demon generals behind her, "Her Highness she is not dead. Her Highness she is not dead. The Empire did not betray the demon race. That's great. Her Highness she is not dead." The group of generals raised their weapons one after another and shouted loudly, venting the joy in their hearts. The demon race's way of celebrating was so violent that the densely packed archers on the city gates all knocked their arrows and pulled them into a full moon, aiming at Ling Huyan and the others in the distance. "Put down your bows and arrows." Lin Muyu's voice was not very loud, but it was very penetrating, and there was an unquestionable sense of command in her voice. Immediately, the group of archers put down their bows and arrows. No one dared to act rashly. In front of a divine-level king, anyone who dared to act rashly would be courting death. Tang Xiaoxi's face was full of joy. "Ling Huyan is here. Mu, shall we go down?" "All right." Tang Xiaoxi leaped up and disappeared in a flash. A spatial ripple appeared in the air, and the next moment, her figure had already appeared several hundred meters below the city walls. This was the extraordinary power of a divine-level expert. Tang Zhen was stunned. When he turned to look again, he discovered that Lin Muyu had also disappeared. She had appeared on the snowy ground below the city walls. Tang Xiaoxi's figure, her cloak fluttering in the wind, was elegant and free of dust. These two divine-level experts were really infuriating. Tang Zhen clenched his fists and said to the group of captaincy behind him, "Come, follow me down the city walls to welcome Ling Huyan." "Yes." Ling Huyan dismounted and knelt on both knees, disregarding the filth on the snowy ground. Her voice trembled as she said, "Ling Huyan of the Demon Clan greets Her Highness she." "Ling Huyan, get up." Tang Xiaoxi helped her up and said, "Why did you start a war with the Empire when I wasn't around? You even killed so many Empire soldiers. How do you expect me to explain this?" I. Ling Huyan looked aggrieved as she said, "I had no choice. Princess she suddenly disappeared from the world. Princess she's grandfather committed suicide in Hundred Ridge City and died for the country. Her brother, Tang Lu, lost his military power in Seven Seas Pass. I thought that the Empire had already made up its mind to completely eradicate the Tang family, so we sent troops to attack Demon Subduing Pass. You?" Tang Xiaoxi was extremely helpless. "I asked you to be loyal to the Empire, not to the Tang family. You can't betray the Empire just for me, can you? You attacked Demon Subduing Pass, and caused so many Empire soldiers to lose their lives. The Demon Clan must have suffered a lot as well. Why bother?" "But Ling Huyan still wanted to argue, but Lin Muyu persuaded her. "Xiaoxi, Ling Huyan is confused because of her concern. Don't blame her anymore." Alas, Tang Xiaoxi sighed helplessly. The Demon Clan was always a double-edged sword. They could protect Lanyan City, but they could also deal a fatal blow to Lanyan City. No matter what, she was duty-bound. At this moment, Tang Zhen and the others rode over and dismounted to salute. After the salute, Tang Zhen glanced at Ling Huyan and said, "Ling Huyan, you really made us suffer. I fought side by side with you, but in the blink of an eye, you don't recognize us anymore." Ling Huyan pouted and said, "Lord Tang Zhen didn't give way either. Your ballistae and magic crystal cannons also intimidated our Demon Clan warriors." Tang Xiaoxi said, "Now that I'm here, you two should stop fighting, okay? Just give me Tang Xiaoxi some face." Lin Muyu saw some clues and asked with a smile, "Ling Huyan, you are still unmarried, right?" "Yes, Your Highness. Do you want to introduce me?" Ling Huyan giggled. Lin Muyu nodded and looked at Tang Zhen asking, "Marquis Zhenqi, you are also unmarried, right?" Tang Zhen touched his nose and said, "Yes, I am still alone. When Your Highness is with the princess, you don't care about my feelings at all." Alas. Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Ling Huyan, what do you think of Tang Zhen?" Ling Huyan was stunned and instantly understood that Lin Muyu wanted to be a matchmaker. She glanced at Tang Jun and pouted, saying, "He is ugly, but he is not bad." Lin Muyu smiled knowingly and said, "Tang Jun, what do you think of Ling Huyen?" "Your Highness, Ling Huyen is the most beautiful woman this subordinate has ever seen, second only to Her Highness Qin Yin and Princess Shi." "That's good. Since the two of you don't reject each other, and you're both single, why don't I be the matchmaker? The two of you should get married. It'll be the best of both worlds. Apart from accomplishing a beautiful thing, it'll also guarantee the eternal peace between the demon-subduing pass and the demon race. This? What you don't want to? No, this subordinate is willing." Tang Jun cupped his fists and revealed a happy expression. "This subordinate will listen to your highness's arrangements." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and asked, "Ling Huyen, are you willing to marry Marquis Shi Tang Jun?" Ling Huyen immediately blushed and said, If you have something to say, just say it. I originally thought that your highness she would marry Lin Muyu and I would be a dowry, a concubine or something. I didn't think that your highness she would value this servant so much. Lin Muyu wanted to die and said, "How can your imagination be so rich? I don't take concubines." Ling Huyen smiled and said, "Since your highness Prince Qin doesn't want me, then I can only marry Marquis Shi." Tang Jun was overjoyed. A beautiful wife with a voluptuous figure had fallen from the sky. How could he not be happy? That night, the demon-subduing pass set up 200 tables on the snowy ground outside the pass and held Tang Jun and Ling Huyan's wedding with great fanfare. Moreover, Prince Qin and Princess Fu Guo were the witnesses. Chapter 713. A heavy snow in early spring swept across the entire gorge. The once majestic fairy's capital was now covered in a layer of white. There were messy hoof prints on the mountain roads. The hoof prints were half the size of normal warhorses. These were purebred warhorses unique to the northern desert. They were majestic and powerful. The hoof prints led straight to the fairy's capital. Clatter, clatter. The sound of swords rubbing against armor was heard. The group went to the palace, where Demon King Feng Yuan lived. Bang! The golden gate opened slowly. A high-level demon walked out with 2 rows of guards in golden armor. He shouted, "Shen Baichuan of the Nan family greets His Majesty." Then he walked up and cupped his hands. "General Shen, the guards of faraway country need to remove their weapons to greet His Majesty. Please." Shen Baichuan smiled coldly and didn't say anything else. He ordered his subordinates to remove their swords and handed them to the attendants. Then he strode into the hall with 4 of his subordinates, each of whom wore the insignia of a major. After all, Shen Baichuan was a duke at the border. The Demon King sat on the throne while Qianfeng and the other generals stood on both sides. When Qianfeng and Shen Baichuan's eyes met, it was as if there was a fire burning in their eyes. Shen Baichuan and Qianfeng were known as the twin walls of the gods' race. They were both the best of the younger generation. Qianfeng was slightly better, but Shen Baichuan had never admitted defeat. "General, you must be tired." Feng Yuan smiled, holding the Blade of Kings. Shen Baichuan cupped his fists. "Your Majesty, I wonder why the young general has come to God's capital this time?" Princess Royal Feng Jing-er, who was beside the Demon King, asked. "For the sake of saving the entire race from the abyss." "What are you talking about?" Feng Jing-er was unhappy. "The gods' race has been in the fairy's capital for thousands of years. How come we're in the abyss now?" Shen Baichuan raised his brows. "Princess Jean, Heaven's Gorge is easy to attack but hard to defend. The Sky Veil has been repeatedly destroyed, and we've lost our barrier. Isn't this like fire and water? The human empire has stationed 200,000 elite soldiers at the front line of Sky Bridge City, and nearly 1,000 magic crystal cannons are eyeing us covetously. They may break through the southern gate of our Protoss race at any time. Does this count as being close to the abyss?" Feng Jing-er gritted her teeth, but she didn't know how to refute. Feng Yuan's expression was calm and he didn't show anything. He only smiled. "General, you've been reading military books for a long time, so you must have extraordinary foresight. Since you've come to the fairy's capital, tell me, what do you think?" Shen Baichuan cupped his hands and said, "The Qin Empire only relies on the magic crystal cannons. Your Majesty, you can imagine that Wei Chou has led the Longdan army camp to operate in the Sky Bridge province for a long time. He's very experienced in both defense and offense. If we fight a positional battle with the Qin Empire, we'll definitely lose with their magic crystal cannons and battle formations. Even if Marshal Qianfeng connects with the Iha country and attacks from the south, it's just a temporary measure. Don't forget that Prince Xian Feng Jixing is eyeing us from the Qinling Mountains with 200,000 soldiers. As long as the Iha country attacks from the coast, they might be wiped out by Feng Jixing before they can even see the flag of the Longdan army camp. If that's the case, the gods' race will definitely lose. All the officials were rendered speechless by his words and remained silent. The demon emperor nodded slightly and said, "Little general, please continue." Shen Baichuan swept his gaze across and saw a hint of unwillingness flashing past Qianfeng's face. It was as if his thoughts had been exposed. Shen Baichuan couldn't help but feel a little proud and continued, "Lin Muyu is looking forward to fighting a positional battle with us. Therefore, he's not anxious at all. After taking over the Sky Bridge province, he's been training his troops, waiting for us to attack and send ourselves to our deaths. However, we might not necessarily have to fight a decisive battle with them on the plains." "Why do you say that?" The demon emperor was surprised. Shen Baichuan said respectfully, "Back then, the reason why the gods' race was able to march straight into the continent, taking over 2 of the empire's provinces and reaching the Five Valleys city, was because of their mobile battle tactics. The armor demons are ferocious and can be said to be invincible in field battles. However, in the subsequent battles, we gave up on field battles and chose to fight a positional battle with the Qin Empire. After they obtained the arrow boxes, they also developed the magic crystal cannons. How can we not be defeated?" The demon emperor narrowed his eyes and asked, "Little general, what strategy do you have to deal with them?" Shen Baichuan smiled. "It's very simple. 8 words to defeat the empire." "Which 8 words?" an elder asked. "Attack when they're unprepared and defeat when they're weak," Shen Baichuan said. "How do you attack when they're unprepared? Defeat when they're weak again?" Feng Jing saw that Qianfeng was being pressured step by step. She hurriedly spoke to help Qianfeng regain some face. Shen Baichuan said, "In order to completely destroy the divine race, the Qin Empire has gathered almost all of their magic crystal cannons in the Tongtian province. As for the other provinces, even the capital cities only have dozens of magic crystal cannons as decorations. In that case, why don't we turn our army around and retreat to the 8 wastelands? Then, together with the barbarian tribes of the northern desert, we can attack the Cloud Province from the northern snow region. The Cloud Province is guarded by Duke Luo Xian of the Northern Kingdom. He has no more than 200,000 soldiers, and less than 100 magic crystal cannons. This year is a cold spring, and there will be another heavy snowfall before March. This snow is our chance to turn defeat into victory. All 200,000 armor demons will be divided into 20 groups, and we will attack the Cloud Province under the cover of the snow. Together with the spies we have been operating in the Cloud Province for many years, we won't have to worry about Twilight Rain City." Feng Jing bit her red lips and was speechless again. "What do you think? What do you think?" Shen Baichuan asked with a stern expression. The group of old officials nodded their heads and seemed to have no other ideas. At this moment, Qianfeng suddenly slammed his palm on the table beside him and said in a low voice, "Nonsense! You're just an armchair strategist." "Oh." Shen Baichuan smiled and said, "Why does Marshal Qianfeng think that I'm just an armchair strategist?" Qianfeng's eyes were cold as he said, "First, if there is another heavy snow, the food for the 200,000 armor demons will be the biggest problem. We will be able to harvest some of the food in the Tongtian Gorge in a month. At least, it will be enough for the armor demons to get through the winter. However, if we send our army to the north and launch an attack on the Cloud Province from the snowfield, food will be the biggest problem. 200,000 armor demons will have to eat 2 million kilograms of food every day. Where will they come from? I'm afraid that they will all starve to death before they even enter the Cloud Province. Second, the tribes of the northern desert will come as fast as hungry wolves. Haven't the tribes of the 8 wastelands been harassed by the northern desert enough? Cooperating with the northern desert is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. Maybe the cloud province will be destroyed before we even enter our nest. Third, the Tongtian Gorge is the foundation of the Protoss. Only in the worm nest can we hatch the armored demons, the winged people, and the giant flying snakes. Without the help of these strange creatures, we will lose the foundation to challenge the Qin Empire. Shen Baichuan, do you know that war is unpredictable and water is unpredictable, but you don't know how to adapt to the situation, time, and place? Marshall is right, but I have a way to deal with all of them. Shen Baichuan smiled confidently and said, first, food will not be a problem. Although it is spring, the Zhongnan family can still provide food for 100,000 armor demons. The other 100,000 can be fed like ducks. Kill 1,000 armor demons every day and feed the rest of the armor demons, which can last for a month. Second, although the northern desert is a wolf, they are still bullied by the Qin Empire. If we promise them great benefits, they will definitely work for the Protoss. Third, as long as Lin Muyu gives the order, the magic crystal cannons will blast the sky, and the army will advance step by step. With the cultivation of the God-state experts like Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi, does Marshal Qianfeng still think that the giant flying snakes can be of use? Feed the armor demons with the corpses of the armor demons. Qianfeng couldn't help but laugh. I'm afraid only General Shen Baichuan can think of such a cruel way to exterminate the armor demons. The armor demons are beasts, why not? As the saying goes, the merciful do not lead the army. Marshal Qianfeng should understand this, right? Shen Baichuan did not budge an inch and sneered. No wonder the marshal lost to Lin Muyu time and time again. Qianfeng trembled with anger. Shen Baichuan, do you want the entire Protoss to be consigned to eternal damnation? No, I will only let the Protoss become the masters of the shattered cauldron world again. Shen Baichuan turned around and looked at the demon emperor. He knelt down on one knee and raised a golden seal in his hand. Your Majesty, the Zhongnan family's golden seal is here. As long as your Majesty agrees, Shen Baichuan is willing to lead the 100,000 cavalrymen of the Zhongnan family to regain the lost territory for your Majesty. However, we cannot use Marshal Qianfeng's strategy anymore. The marshal is merciful and doesn't want blood to be spilled. Naturally, he can't contend with famous generals like Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Xiang Yu. Feng Yuan took a deep breath. He naturally knew that other than the 200,000 armor demons under Qianfeng's command, the 100,000 cavalrymen of the Zhongnan family was the most reliable. Thus he asked, Young General, where are the 100,000 cavalrymen of the 8 wastelands defending? They are at the 8 wastelands, waiting for your Majesty to dispatch them. Shen Baichuan lowered his head. What he meant was that if Feng Yuan didn't withdraw from the Tongtian Gorge, the 100,000 cavalrymen wouldn't be dispatched by Feng Yuan. Qianfeng, Feng Yuan suddenly called out. Qianfeng hastily cupped his fists and knelt on the ground. Imperial Father, Qianfeng is here. Yu, Demon King's eyes flickered. Very well. Someone give the other commander's seal to Shen Baichuan. From now on, Shen Baichuan and Qianfeng will be the commanders of the divine race. Shen Baichuan will command the 100,000 cavalrymen of the 8 wastelands, while Qianfeng will command the 200,000 armor demons. That's it. Shen Baichuan's face was full of joy as he took the commander's seal. Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty, but, Your Majesty, if you want me to attack the Cloud Middle Province, I'll need an army of 100,000 armor demons. Additionally, I'll need 10 giant flying snakes. In your dreams, Qianfeng's voice was cold. I won't hand over the armor demons to an unscrupulous person. Shen Baichuan only snickered, but didn't say anything. Feng Yuan opened his mouth. Qianfeng, cede the military power according to Commander Shen's request. Our divine race needs a way out. The Tongtian Gorge is so narrow, it's not a good place to stay for long. Imperial Father. Qianfeng raised his head to look at Feng Yuan, only to see that Feng Yuan's face was old. Feng Yuan was an old man. Even after stepping into the God realm, he still began to grow old. He had long lost his original ambition. Chapter 7:14. Divine Realm. Squeak squeak sounds were incessant. The two spirit mountains floating in the heaven realm were constantly colliding and fusing together. The core energy within the spirit mountains was constantly making noises, as if it would explode at any time. Swish swish swish. Streaks of white light descended and converged into the figures of battle angels. They were all dressed in the same attire and equipment. They were clad in silver armor, and wings of light slowly unfurled behind them. Among them, a female angel with 6 wings and a sword of light in her hand stood quietly in the air above the two spirit mountains. She was silent and just looked at them. Her emotionless eyes flashed with an enchanting brilliance. Her skin was smooth and her facial features were exquisite. She was an absolute beauty. Shi Yan, one of the 6-winged scorching angels, and one of the highest authorities of the Western Heaven Realm. A 4-winged angel flew in the air and said respectfully, "Lord Angel Shi Yan, the two spirit mountains have begun to fuse, and the plain walls have disappeared. They can no longer be separated." "Damn it," Shi Yan frowned slightly and said, "Have the people from East Heaven arrived?" "They have. They have been guarding the other spirit mountain." At the request of the Western Heaven Realm, although the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor did not come personally, he sent his most trusted God Emperor, named Xiao. The light on the blade in Shi Yan's hand soared and said, "The people from East Heaven are so arrogant. They actually want us to wait for them here?" At this moment, the energy in the space suddenly became chaotic. Pa. A spatial crack appeared in front of them. In the next moment, a beautiful figure floated out of the spatial crack. It was Xiao. With the appearance of Xiao, spatial cracks opened in the east, and in the blink of an eye, nearly 100 experts with at least the cultivation of God King appeared one by one, confronting the angel legion of the Western Heaven Realm again. "What, do you want to continue fighting?" Shi Yan raised her eyebrows. Xiao sneered. "If you want to fight, the Eastern Heaven Realm will accompany you to the end. I'm just afraid that you don't have enough 4-winged angels to kill. If you send 2-winged angels to die, then we, the Eastern Heaven, can't afford to lose face." "What did you say?" Shi Yan's gaze turned cold, and a faint killing intent spread out like an avalanche. For a moment, a group of Eastern Heaven Realm gods were aghast. This was the first time they had seen a blazing angel-level expert from the Western Heaven Realm. This Shi Yan was obviously not someone that the previous angel corps could compare to. Anyone who could become a blazing angel must have stepped into the 99th heavenly paradise, and this Shi Yan was no exception. There were only 3 6-winged blazing angels in the entire Western Heaven Realm, and she was one of them. Xiao's heart trembled slightly. She could already feel the disparity in strength. If she fought this Shi Yan alone, her chances of winning would not exceed 40%. If the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor did not come, no one could beat this Shi Yan. However, even so, she could not lose. Thus Xiao said lightly, "Shi Yan, did you call me here to continue the God War or to negotiate peace?" Negotiate peace. Shi Yan was also unwilling to continue fighting. Otherwise, both sides would suffer, and it would only benefit the people of the Northern Heaven Realm and the Southern Heaven Realm. Her eyes became gentle, like a god who pitied the world. Her gentle eyes seemed to be able to melt people's hearts. She raised the corner of her mouth and smiled. "However, the condition of the negotiation is, these 2 spirit mountains belong to the Western Heaven Realm." "That's impossible." Xiao did not give in and said, "This spirit mountain plane of the Eastern Heaven Realm is called the Broken Cauldron Realm. Our Demon Emperor's brother is in the Broken Cauldron Realm. How can we hand over the core of the spirit mountain of the Broken Cauldron Realm to the Western Heaven Realm? In my opinion, you'd better cede the 2 spirited mountains to the Eastern Heaven. Otherwise, there will be another bloodbath." This is difficult." Shi Yan's bright eyes shot out a ray of light and said, "The people of the Eastern Heaven Realm should also know which plane this spirit mountain of the Western Heaven Realm corresponds to, right? The celestial pole continent is the strongest plane of the Western Heaven Realm. The number of God Emperors in the entire celestial pole continent is in the double digits. Moreover, Lord Ruler of the Western Heaven Realm has cultivated many young geniuses to cultivate in the celestial pole continent. It is also impossible for you to want the Western Heaven Realm." "The celestial pole continent?" Xiao's heart sank. Only now did she remember the origin of the spirit mountain that originally belonged to the Western Heaven Realm. The celestial pole continent was the cradle for the Western Heaven Realm, to cultivate geniuses and experts. Legend has it that every 5 years, the Western Heaven Realm would place an oracle in the celestial pole continent to find new experts to strengthen the power of the divine realm. If what Shi Yan said was true, then it would be really troublesome. The integration of the broken cauldron realm and the celestial pole continent had already been facilitated. Once the celestial pole continent and the broken cauldron realm started to fight, would the Qin Empire where Lin Muyu was in be able to win? I'm afraid even survival would be a problem. Xian seemed to see through Xiao's thoughts. She couldn't help but smile. Fairy Xiao, in my opinion, it is better to let it go. Whatever happens in the celestial pole continent and the broken cauldron realm, the Eastern Heaven and the Western Heaven realm should not interfere. How about it? Xiao took a deep breath. Xian, are you so confident that the celestial pole continent can unify the two big planes? It's not confidence, it's certainty. Xian smiled. Her peerlessly exquisite face was simply unbelievably beautiful. She lightly swung the long sword in her hand, causing the sword's blade to suddenly emit a light that was hundreds of meters long. She said with a slight smile, either sign a divine covenant, and the two sides will no longer interfere in the two big planes' affairs, or we will start a war. The Western Heaven Realm has never feared any challenge. Xiao pondered for a long time, then lightly nodded. Let's sign a divine covenant. The so-called divine covenant was an agreement between gods. Once the agreement was signed, as long as one party violated it, the signatory would lose the power of the laws. A god-rank expert losing the power of the laws was equivalent to becoming a useless person. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A faint golden light flickered on the divine covenant stone. When Xiao and Xian injected their divine power together, the divine covenant stone quickly disappeared in space, turning into a wisp of power of the laws. This agreement would be supervised by the laws. The divine covenant has been established. Xian smiled cheerfully. All the gods on the God Realms list are not allowed to enter these two big planes. Furthermore, the divine power of the two big heaven realms is also prohibited from interacting with these two big planes. If you violate this, it will be either you or me who will fall. Do you understand? Understood. Xiao indifferently looked at Xian, then her figure slowly disappeared. The Eastern Heaven Realm gods behind her also disappeared one by one, as if they had never been here. Xian looked at the two spirit mountains again, took a deep breath and said, I hope the gods of the celestial pole continent will not disappoint me and the ruler. All right, let's go back. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Beams of light shot into the sky, and in the blink of an eye, all the angels in the sky disappeared. The two spirit mountains still remained in the sky, as if nothing had happened. What? In the palace in East Heaven, the 7 luminaries' demon emperor's astonished voice sounded. The shattered cauldron realm and the celestial pole continent have really merged. You even signed a divine covenant with Xian? Yes. Xiao stood there quietly, her face full of grievance. If I didn't sign a divine covenant, I'm afraid the people I brought wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between Xian's teeth. The blazing angel-level gods of the Western Heaven Realm are indeed not simple. Xian's power is probably not much inferior to yours, Demon Emperor. Is that so? The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor was unconvinced and said, I've met Xian once, and she's not as strong as you say. It's just that Xiao, you've descended to the mortal world too much, affecting your cultivation. From now on, just focus on your cultivation. With that said, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's eyes surged with thick killing intent. Good Western Heaven Realm, so insolent. Xian, a mere blazing angel, dares to look down on East Heaven. Just wait and see, sooner or later, I'll beat Xian until she cries out in pain and kneels on the ground begging for mercy. I'm not willing to be my concubine. What did you say? Xiao asked softly. Although her voice was soft, it was full of murderous intent. The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor's body trembled. No, nothing. Didn't I say it? I'm not willing even if she wants to be my concubine. Xiao snorted lightly. Dream on. Yen has been single for tens of thousands of years since she stepped into the god realm. She's known as the #1 goddess of the Western Heaven realm. With your looks, you still want to take her as a concubine? You should wait for you to ascend and try. You is much more handsome than you. You. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor was filled with grief and indignation. Are you even one of my people? Your elbow is almost touching the root of your thigh. Besides, that's just a superficial appearance. With my graceful temperament, I don't believe that Yen won't look at me. Unless you use the 7 glorious stars transformation to hit her, I don't think she will necessarily look at you, Xiao said indifferently. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor didn't care much about it. He rubbed his nose and said, I'm afraid that next will be trouble for that brat you. After signing the divine pact, we can't even send a divine oracle to you. Even if his telekinesis penetrates the plane, we might not be able to receive it. Whether the Shattered Cauldron realm can escape this calamity depends on you, Feng Jixing, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. Don't worry. Xiao smiled slightly. This is also use cultivation. This is the test of fate. If he can't pass this, how can he become the supreme ruler of the god realm? Yes. Unknown alternate world. The dark land was barren. Only a little starlight shone down from the sky. The ground was full of barren wreckage. It was hard to tell whether it was the bones of animals or humans. Even the wild grass was black. It was probably because it hadn't been exposed to sunlight for a long time. Boom. Boom. An intense shock came. A 4-legged beast about 20 meters tall stepped over the barren mountain ridge. Its roar shocked the surroundings. This was a dog beast. It looked like a vicious dog, but its body was surrounded by layers of rocks. It was probably only in such a dangerous environment that such an ugly, clumsy beast could appear. The dog beast howled angrily. Probably because it had been hungry for too long. It opened its mouth and bit a fiery red rock. However, its luck was obviously not good. One of its teeth was directly knocked out. Woo-woo! The dog beast retreated a few steps. Suddenly, the sound of rushing wind came. Pooh! A steel arrow as thick as an arm directly penetrated the dog beast's head and shot out from its lower jaw. Instantly, the huge beast collapsed. Its skin burst open, revealing the stinking internal organs and blood. In the sky, a person was flying in the wind. Under the starlight, he frowned. Damn, another pile of smelly meat. How unlucky. Is there only one piece of fresh meat in the banished land? Chapter 7:15. The Land of Exile, as its name suggested, was a plain of exile. Those who could come to the land of exile were destined to be exiled evildoers. They were either villains or people who had offended the nobles. The land of exile was filled with ferocious beasts and countless experts. But only a few could walk out of the land of exile alive. The only thing that awaited the exiled was death. The only difference was when death would befall them. The expert who had shot the hound beast was a 3-meter-tall mutant. He wore a tattered robe and held a steel bow that was at least 2 meters long. His face was covered in dozens of scars, and the whirling wind under his feet allowed him to stand in the air, but it did not seem like he could stay that way for long. He had already forgotten his own name. If he had to give a name, it would be General Iron when he was exiled more than 20 years ago. However, the name General Iron seemed to have been abandoned by everything in the world. There were no human relationships in the land of exile. There was only slaughter, and people would give up their dignity and everything just to find food. General Tai landed on the ground and used his half-rotten leather boots to kick the hound beast's corpse. Immediately, black, rotting blood splattered everywhere. He pulled out the dagger at his waist and dug out a piece of the hound beast's flesh to take a sniff. A thick stench wafted over. F***CK. He tossed the rotten meat away and said angrily, "It's all rotten meat. I've been following it for an entire day. All my time has been wasted. I'm so angry." As he spoke, he flipped through the rest of the hound beast's meat. All of them were rotten. It was a disappointing hunt. Swoosh. Just as General Iron was flipping through the rotten meat, a blood-red light suddenly fell from the distance. Was that the light of the exiled? General Iron's memory was still very clear. He had brought this light to the land of exile all those years ago. That should be the exiled person, right? Human flesh works too. General Iron licked the corner of his lips. The last time he had eaten human flesh was not that long ago. Just half a month ago, it was a young man in his 20s. He was in the heavenly realm, but General Iron had killed him with a single palm strike. The flesh on his body was enough to last him for 10 days if it did not rot. Stepping on the ground, General Tai charged over as if he was flying, the dagger in his hand gleaming coldly. However, when General Iron arrived near the exiled people, he was stunned. There was a huge crater with thick smoke rising from it. At the center of the crater, there was a golden ball lying there quietly. The light it emitted would occasionally surge and then disappear. What is this? General Tai picked up the ball and did not find it scalding at all. Instead, it felt cool and refreshing. Moreover, a wave of vigorous light elemental energy flowed into General Tai's body through the ball. It was very stimulating. General Tai was taken aback. At this moment, the sphere suddenly disappeared with a flash, turning into streaks of light. The light gradually condensed into the figure of a girl around 5 years old. However, the girl's eyes were blood red as she stared at General Tai silently. It's a doll. What the hell? General Tai grunted coldly and said, Kid, who are you? Why were you exiled here? Tell me the truth, or I'll eat you. Understand? The girl looked at General Tai in a daze. There was a hint of fear in her blood-red eyes as she asked, Where is this? This is the banished land. Tell me first. Who are you? I. The girl stood there in a daze. After a few seconds, she still shook her head blankly. I don't know who I am either. Then why are your eyes blood red? General Tai squatted down and placed his dagger against the back of the girl's neck. As long as the girl made any movements, her head would be removed immediately. I don't know either. The girl said blankly. Humph. General Tai's palm moved gently. He was searching for a gap in the girl's neck bones, so that he could kill her in a single strike. In the decades he had spent in the banished land, he had gradually learned to turn killing into an art. Otherwise, how hard would it be to endure the years of decay? Just then, a cloud of smoke suddenly rolled over from the bushes in the distance. Strangely enough, the smoke did not rise up. Instead, it lay on the ground. General Tai hurriedly retreated a few steps with his dagger in hand. It was a fog beast. The fog beast was one of the most common wild beasts in the banished land, but it was also one of the most lethal enemies. The fog beast moved silently, and was used to hiding in the fog at night to ambush its opponents. Its teeth were sharp and it could kill its enemies in a single strike. However, the girl frowned. Suddenly, as though she had gone berserk, the blood-red glow in her eyes intensified. She crawled on the ground and charged at the fog beast at lightning speed. Immediately, the fog scattered. The girl fought the beast in the fog. She was silent, but the fog beast let out a tragic cry that sounded like a cat's meow. In the blink of an eye, the fog dispersed. The girl was lying on the corpse of a fog beast that weighed about 50 kilograms. She opened her mouth and bit down on the fog beast's neck. General Tai actually felt a little timid at that moment. What's wrong? The girl opened her mouth, revealing a pair of bloody fangs. How was this a girl? She was more like a tiny demon. You can sense the fog beast? General Tai asked. What's a fog beast? The girl was confused. This one. General Tai pointed at the fog beast's corpse on the ground. Yes. The girl nodded. I can smell his aura. Is that so? General Tai was very shocked. Regardless of what this girl was, the fact that she could sense the fog beast's aura proved that she was a natural hunter. There was nothing lacking in the land of exile, except a hunter with a strong sense for danger. General Tai had almost been killed over the years precisely because he lacked this ability. Therefore, General Tai suddenly made up his mind. He lowered his body and placed his hands on the ground. Looking at the girl who was less than a meter tall, he said, Little girl, since you don't know where this is, why don't you follow me? I'll give you food and protect you. Yes. The girl nodded, but she didn't seem happy or unhappy. She just nodded in agreement. General Tai grinned. revealing 2 rows of yellow teeth. He said, "Since you're following me, you have to call me Dad. How about it? You be my daughter and hunt the beasts in the land of exile for me. I'll be your dad and protect you from being bullied." The girl still nodded. Okay. General Tai was overjoyed. He grabbed the fog beast's legs and slung it over his shoulder. He said, "Then let's go home. This fog beast's meat is enough for us to eat for a week. We have to hunt the next prey within a week, or we'll starve." "Right, what's your name?" "I don't have a name," the girl said. Your eyes are red. In my hometown, there's a type of people with red eyes. We call them demon spirits. How about this? You should be a demon spirit too, and a small one at that. I'll call you Little Demon?" "Little Demon?" The girl was confused. "Then I'll be called Little Demon?" "Yes, your name will be Little Demon." I have a name." The girl finally revealed a hint of joy. "Yes, you have a name. Let's go home now." 2 figures, one big and one small, slowly moved under the starlight. The land of exile was very vast. It was said that no one had ever reached the end. No one knew what was at the end of the land of exile, but one thing was for sure. Every inch of the land of exile had an owner, also known as a lord. If one wanted to become the owner of a piece of land, they had to kill the previous owner, and then most of the time they would be eaten. The land of exile didn't grow food. Almost all the food came from the exiles who fell from the sky, as well as the evil beasts that lived there. However, most of the evil beasts in the land of exile were very strong and hard to deal with. Smart people would rather provoke their own kind than wild beasts. General Tai's territory wasn't big. It was less than 5 kilometers wide. Beyond that was a dangerous region, so General Tai only hunted invaders in his own territory. Because his territory was too small, it was normal for General Tai to not be able to hunt for food for half a month. Now that he had this little demon, General Tai couldn't help but feel happy. With Little Demon's help, hunting wild beasts shouldn't be a problem. If Little Demon could easily kill a fog beast, then killing other wild beasts shouldn't be too difficult. Even if he couldn't kill them, General Tai wouldn't suffer any losses. Plus, he could eat the fresh meat of a girl. In the small cave, General Tai lived a life of barbecuing meat. However, he only cut off a small portion of the fog beast's hind leg. It weighed about 2 kilograms. He ate 2 kilograms, and Little Demon ate half a kilogram. That should be enough. Looking at her small body, she shouldn't be able to eat much. Before long, the fragrance of meat wafted out. The girl sat on the meadow and finally snapped out of her reverie. She immediately looked straight at the roasted meat on the wooden stick. She didn't say a word and only looked at it calmly. The corner of her mouth revealed a cute fong, as though General Tai would fly into a rage if he didn't give him food. "Are you hungry?" General Tai asked with a smile. "Yes." The girl replied emotionlessly. "Come eat." General Tai cut off a piece of meat. The girl finished it in 2 or 3 bites and didn't find it too hot. "It can't be." General Tai was dumbfounded. He cut off another piece of meat, and the girl finished it in 2 or 3 bites. Therefore, General Tai ate less than half a kilogram of meat out of the 5 kilograms. He had no choice but to change his plans. Given the little demon's appetite, he had to kill a new prey within 3 days or he would starve. Starlight shone on the edge of the cave as the bonfire flickered its last bit of light. The little demon fell into a deep sleep on the meadow. General Tai held a dagger in his hand and sharpened a sturdy wooden stick into an arrow. As he did so, he glared coldly at the girl. Chapter 716. Mingshan Province, Shangyang City. This city, known as the trade center of the south, had regained its prosperity after several years of recuperation. Merchants and travelers were as numerous as the clouds and pedestrians weaved in and out. Within the city, merchant guilds, restaurants, grain stores, blacksmiths, and so on had been built. Moreover, Qin Yin's policy of subduing the world by force had been continued. Just within Shangyang City alone, there were 7 sacred temples for martial artists to reside in. To the north of the city stood a towering camp that stretched for 10 miles. This was the Mingshan army that guarded Mingshan province. This Mingshan army was formed from the 55,000 troops of Qihai province that Xiangyu had once commanded. Together with the recruits from the province, there was an army of 100,000 people. With these 100,000 people, it was enough to guard the southern border of the empire. The camp was adjacent to a mansion with green tiles and white walls. This was Duke of Southern Residence, where Xiangyu lived. It was early spring, and the weather in the south was slightly warmer. The dozen or so peach trees in the courtyard were all in full bloom, and in the center of the courtyard, Xiangyu stood there majestically, spear in hand. Golden air swirled around him. He was trying to break through to the 19th layer of heavenly abode, but it didn't seem to be going well. His brows were tightly furrowed, and his face was covered in sweat. Husband. A figure walked over from the hall. It was Tang Wei, holding a towel. She was now a beautiful middle-aged woman, and the passage of time hadn't taken away her beauty. Instead, it added a bit of mature charm to her. She helped Xiangyu wipe the sweat off his face and said, "Don't work too hard. If you can't break through today, then wait until tomorrow." Xiangyu took a deep breath and continued to show tenderness on his face. "Little Wei, thank you. You're too courteous." Tang Wei giggled. She wet the towel in the basin carried by a maid, wrung it out, and gave it back to Xiangyu. "Have you heard that Lin Muyu and Xiaoxi went to demon-subduing pass? It's said that they even facilitated the marriage between Marquis of Western Garrison Tang Zhen and the Saintess of the Demons, Ling Huyen." "Yes, I've heard about it." Xiangyu nodded. "But little Wei, don't call the Qin King by his name in the future. He's now the Qin King of the Empire. He's no longer that Lin Muyu." "Humph." Tang Wei's face was filled with indignation as she said, "He and Feng Jixing's hands are stained with the blood of our Tang family." This group of executioners, one by one, took over the power, and even created the so-called three kings ruling the world. "Husband, if you hadn't taken advantage of the night to attack Iha country's capital city, Bailing City, would Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing be able to sit firmly on the throne?" "Alas, don't say any more." Xiangyu frowned. However, Tang Wei continued, "If Her Highnessing didn't die, I'm afraid that my husband would have already become a marquis who controls half of the country. Why would he be assigned to this border city? There's nothing bad about Shangyang City. It's an outstanding place with a beautiful landscape and clear waters. Besides, Shangyang City is a prosperous city with prosperous trade. It's enough for us to live here without worrying about food or clothing. Husband, are you really satisfied with just a corner of the world?" Tang Wei looked straight at Xiangyu. Xiangyu's eyes were filled with helplessness. He couldn't help but let out a sigh and said, "Times have changed. Back then, my cultivation was enough to rule Lanyan City, but what about now? Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others have all surpassed me. In addition, Zhen Yifan and Tang Lan have all lost their power. Now it's Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing and Qin Yan's world. It's no longer the Qin family's world." Tang Wei smiled faintly and said, "Husband, there's a letter from outside the Eastern Sea. Are you willing to take a look?" "Outside the Eastern Sea? Let me see it." "Yes." Tang Wei took out a letter that was almost crumpled. After Xiangyu took the letter, he shot into the hall like lightning. After opening the letter and glancing through it, his heart was in turmoil. It was the handwriting of the Iha country's young lord, Qin Huan. The content was naturally an agreement with Xiangyu to coordinate from within and without. They would first seize Lingkong province, then march into the other provinces of Lingnan, and plant the Iha country's flag on this land again. Tang Wei walked in with large strides and asked, "Husband, what do you think?" It was obvious that Tang Wei had already read this letter. Xiangyu frowned and said, "The Iha country has long since withered away. What power does it have to compete with the empire? Besides, I, Xiangyu, am the descendant of the war god Xiang Wentian. How could I do such a shameful thing like colluding with the enemy and committing treason?" As he spoke, Xiangyu suddenly opened his palm, and the letter was quickly shredded by his divine power. He looked at Tang Wei with a stern expression and shouted in a low voice, "Little Wei, you're too insensible. Do you know what the consequences of colluding with the Iha country are? You'll be hanged on top of the city gate. I hope you can learn to be smarter and stop doing such foolish things. I won't remind you of this a second time. You're on your own now." Xiangyu turned around and left for the Mingshan army's camp. He left Tang Wei standing there alone, tears pouring out of her eyes. Tang Wei's body trembled as she murmured, "Xiang Yu, have you forgotten that you're the Tang family's son-in-law? Is the Tang family's enmity not your enmity? How can you be the enemy's dog and ignore your grandfather's unjust death? Xiang Yu, since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust." Behind her, a black-robed attendant floated out like a ghost. He was about 50 years old and had a weathered face. He said respectfully, "Princess Wei, are you calling for this subordinate?" Tang Wei's beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent as she said, "How's the preparation of the magic crystals?" "We've refined about 150 kilograms of magic crystal coins. 3 brave warriors are willing to sacrifice themselves for the Seven Seas Tang sect. As long as Princess Wei gives the order, we're willing to do anything." "Good, that's great." Tang Wei turned around to look at him and said, "Tang Xian, you're one of grandfather's people. Now that the enemy is right in front of you, Feng Jixing will lead light cavalry to Shangyang City to patrol the Mingshan province in 3 days. You'll blend into the crowd and activate the magic crystals, while the people are kneeling to welcome Feng Jixing. I don't believe that the explosion of 150 kilograms of magic crystals won't be able to kill Feng Jixing, who's only at the first heaven of the divine state. Feng Jixing killed my second brother, so he must die." As she spoke, Tang Wei's delicate face became extremely hideous and twisted. Tang Xian cupped his fists and said, "I'll definitely obey Princess Wei's orders. However, if we do this, I'm afraid that the innocent people in Shangyang City will be harmed. The explosion of a magic crystal weighing 150 kilograms will cause a shockwave of hundreds of meters. I'm afraid that tens of thousands of people will die because of us. Those who achieve great things don't bother about trifles. Why do you care about those commoners?" Tang Wei said coldly, "You just need to kill Feng Jixing. Once Feng Jixing dies, Lin Muyu will definitely vent her anger on the Mingshan province. I'll see if Xiang Yu will rebel or not." Tang Xian nodded. "I'll do as you say." He wanted to say something but stopped. "Do you have anything else to say?" Tang Wei asked. Tang Xian looked straight at her and said, "I've followed Duke Lan for many years and have long regarded him as my father. As for you, I've been watching you since the day Princess Wei was born. Princess, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it." "Say it." "Using our strength to go against Prince Qin and Prince Xian's strength is no different from striking a rock with an egg. Princess Wei, you can imagine Princess Shi. She's now the princess of the supporting nation and maintains the relationship between the demon race, the savage tribe, and the empire. She can be said to be the mainstay of the empire and is loved by the people. Why can Princess Shi let go of her hatred but Princess Wei can't? Because Xiaoxi isn't a member of the Tang clan." Tang Wei's expression became very resentful and said, "Grandfather is dead, but Xiaoxi can sit by and do nothing. How can she be considered a member of the Tang clan?" Tang Xian was stunned and said, "In order to help Duke Lan take revenge, Princess Shi killed Empress Qin Yin. Is this considered sitting by and doing nothing? But she allowed Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu to wantonly occupy the throne. What does this mean?" Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu were personally conferred the title of the 4 heroes of Lanyan by the late Emperor Qin Jin. Lin Muyu was even treated by Qin Jin as his own daughter. As Qin Yin's elder brother, why can't he take over the throne on her behalf? Princess Wei, you're also a member of the Tang clan's bloodline. I'm truly unwilling to see this line of bloodline come to an end of mutual destruction." As he spoke, Tang Xian slowly knelt down and said, "This is all this old general has to say. But as long as Princess Wei wants old general to kill Feng Jixing, old general will definitely disregard my life and do it. This is the favor I owe Duke Lan." Tang Wei's delicate body trembled, and she lowered her body to help Tang Xian up and said, "Uncle Tang Xian, little Wei only requests that you kill Feng Jixing this time and take revenge for Tang Lu. As long as Feng Jixing is dead, the Tang clan will have a new chance to take a turn for the better." "Yes, old general obeys." Tang Xian stood up, and his eyes were filled with despair. His back view that turned around and left looked especially aged. Regardless of whether he succeeded or not, he would definitely not be able to return once he left. Swish. The arrow that was carved from hardwood flew past the back of the Radiance Beast. The arrowhead wasn't sharp enough, and was actually unable to penetrate the back of the Radiance Beast that was covered in thick armor and thorns. Little Yao, hurry up and attack. Kill it, and it will be our next food. Holding the longbow, General Tai rapidly retreated, increasing the distance between him and the Radiance Beast. Roar! Roar! The Radiance Beast roared angrily because it was attacked. The thorns on its body stood up, and it bared its teeth as it pounced over. This kind of Radiance Beast was very common in the land of exile. Its skin was very hard, and ordinary blades and swords wouldn't be able to pierce through it. What was more troublesome was that the Radiance Beast's body was covered in thick thorns that were abnormally sharp. Furthermore, these thorns carried venom. Therefore, the majority of the wild beasts that fought with the Radiance Beast would still die from poison even if they could kill it. Although the Radiance Beast was terrifying, the freshness of its meat was rare in the entire land of exile. It was the most delicious when cooked into soup. SSS. The girl crawled in the grass. Her pair of beautiful blood-colored pupils were filled with hostility. Suddenly she charged forward. With a loud bang, her beautiful face almost slid across the ground, directly knocking the Radiance Beast upside down. The Radiance Beast's abdomen was soft and tender, so it didn't have any prickles. Before the Radiance Beast could react, the girl spread open her 5 fingers, and a dense blood-colored aura directly tore open the Radiance Beast's abdomen, almost tearing out its intestines. Roar! The Radiance Beast struggled and roared. Its huge body suddenly flipped over, and its sharp claws swept across, instantly leaving behind stab wounds on the girl's cheeks and shoulders. Chapter 717. Swoosh! The Radiance Beast opened its huge mouth, and its crescent-shaped fangs went straight for the girl's neck. If it were to bite down, the girl's neck would probably be bitten off forcefully. At the moment of life and death, the girl seemed to be injected with some kind of power. Her hands danced wildly, clawing the Radiance Beast's abdomen into mush. She flipped over and opened her small mouth. Her fangs glowed with a blood-red light as she bit down heavily on the Radiance Beast's neck, tearing off a piece of flesh. Then she quickly took a second bite. Just like that, bite after bite continued until the Radiance Beast's throat was bitten into mush. Meanwhile, the girl was already covered in blood, looking battered and exhausted. The Radiance Beast lay quietly on the ground, losing all signs of life. At this moment, its greatest value was nothing more than 100 kilograms of meat. To everyone in the land of exile, this was an extreme delicacy. Rustle! General Tai held his longbow and walked forward. His gaze landed on the Radiance Beast and said, "Little Yao, well done. You actually managed to kill this Radiance Beast. Father is very gratified." The girl's body was a little frail. The wound on her neck that was pierced by the prickles was gradually turning black. That was the result of the Radiance Beast's venom invading her body. She trembled slightly and looked at General Tai without saying a word. General Tai raised his hand and grabbed the Radiance Beast's thornless tail. He dragged it backward and patted the girl's head. "Let's go. Father will make you a delicious Radiance Beast soup when we get back." And this time the girl nodded. She understood General Tai's words. Just like that, General Tai dragged the Radiance Beast's corpse and walked in front while the girl followed behind. Her body trembled with every step. Her stamina seemed to have reached its limit. General Tai didn't even turn his head, and kept walking forward. Bang! A few minutes later, there was a loud sound and a flower of blood bloomed on General Tai's shoulder. That was a wound caused by an iron marble. Immediately, the Radiance Beast in his hand fell to the ground. General Tai slumped to the ground, and looked at a figure walking over from afar. This person held a pitch-black iron rod in his hand. One end was still emitting green smoke. The corner of his mouth curled up, revealing an evil smile. "Yo, isn't this General Tai? What, your body of steel was actually pierced through by my elemental spear, ha ha ha." He looked to be around 40 years old, and his face was fierce-looking. After walking forward, he raised his hand and grabbed the corpse of the Radiance Beast, saying, "Tiske, so it's a Radiance Beast. Not bad, not bad. Oh, what a pity, General Tai. You won't be able to eat this Radiance Beast, but You're very lucky. After I finish eating this radiance beast, your flesh will become my next meal. General Iron's face was pale as he gnashed his teeth and said, Black Fiend, I've never invaded your territory. Why did you trespass into my territory? What are you talking about? Black Spear smirked coldly. He raised the elemental spear in his hand and pointed the pitch-black muzzle at General Tai's head. Streams of lightning energy gathered in the butt of the spear from his arm before being stored in the bullet. He said, This is the land of exile, not anyone's territory. Have you forgotten the rules of the land of exile? Never be careless. You were careless just now. To think that you didn't notice my arrival. Ha 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 ha. General Tai knew that his death was imminent, so he could only place all his hopes on someone else. He said in a low voice, Little Yao, he's trying to kill father. Hurry. Kill him. What? Black Spear turned to look at the girl, and could not help but laugh out loud. General Tai, I didn't expect you to have fallen to such a state. What else can this little girl do other than being a stew or two? However, Black Spear's pupils suddenly constricted in the next moment. The girl had suddenly disappeared, and in the next moment he felt a sharp pain on his neck. He hurriedly swung his spear to attack the girl who was pouncing on his chest. However, it was too late. When the girl raised her head, she was biting a large piece of flesh on Black Spear's neck, causing blood to splatter. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Black Spear stumbled a few steps back and fell to the ground. His body twitched continuously. He had actually been killed by the girl. Well done. Well done. Ha 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 ha. General Tai stood up in a wretched manner. He grabbed the Radiance Beast's tail with one hand and Black Spear's ankle with the other. Even though he was injured, he still dragged the two prey back to his lair with great difficulty. The girl watched on in a daze. She did not seem to understand why this father of hers had to drag Black Spear's corpse home. Night fell. The night in the banished land was filled with killing and death. Therefore, unless one possessed extraordinary strength, they would not be willing to go out to hunt at night. Clearly, General Tai was not someone who was confident in his own strength. A charred iron pot was propped over the bonfire, and the water inside gurgled. General Tai had cut 5 kilograms of the Radiance Beast's meat and placed it into the pot. There was no seasoning, but it was definitely an incomparably delicious meal. However, to General Tai's surprise, the girl only ate a small piece of the Radiance Beast's meat and stopped eating. She lay curled up on the meadow as black blood seeped out from the wounds on her neck and shoulder. The Radiance Beast's venom was taking effect. Her body twitched violently and trembled. This was the result of hunting the Radiance Beast. General Tai gulped down the meat as he turned to look at the girl. He could not help but frown as he thought to himself, It can't be that she's finished so quickly, right? If that's the case, I'll have to find a new assistant. It was not until the next morning that the girl finally woke up. The black blood on her neck had been replaced by fresh red blood. She sat up timidly and stuck out her tongue to lick her palm. Then, she covered her wound with her palm. As if by instinct, a miraculous scene happened. The bleeding from her wound stopped very quickly. Her saliva seemed to have extraordinary uses, and General Tai, who was in a deep sleep, did not seem to notice this at all. When it was close to noon, General Tai finally woke up. He took out the iron marble that had been shot into his shoulder by the elemental spear. After using a cotton cloth to staunch the bleeding, he simply bandaged the wound. In the banished land, the word medical treatment was very unfamiliar. It was fine as long as one did not die. There was no way to talk about healing injuries. On the other hand, the girl's appetite seemed to have grown a lot. She had eaten close to 5 kilograms of the Radiance Beast's meat for lunch. General Tai frowned. At this rate he would have to go out hunting again soon. He took out his dagger and dug out a large piece of meat from the leg of Black Spear's corpse. He mixed it with the Radiance Beast's meat and tossed it into the pot to continue cooking. If one wanted to survive in the banished land, one had to conserve one's stamina. Only then would one be able to survive the upcoming battles. This was the law of survival in the banished land, and General Tai understood it very well. After a night, the girl's injuries were almost completely healed. What surprised General Tai the most was that the girl seemed to have grown a lot. Her height had increased by at least 3 to 5 centimeters. It was as if such growth had happened overnight. This also explained why her appetite was so terrifying. Perhaps I'll grow stronger when I grow up? General Tai chuckled. The girl did not understand what General Tai was talking about. She only continued to eat the meat in her bowl, and picked out Black Spear's flesh one by one. She only ate the Radiance beast's meat, and did not seem too interested in human flesh. General Tai looked displeased. Thankfully, he was not a picky eater. Black Spear was an old enemy. Eating his flesh gave General Tai a strange, twisted sense of pleasure. Lowering his head to look at the wound on his shoulder, General Tai said, "When my injuries have recovered, we can go to the hunting grounds to try our luck. Perhaps we might be able to kill 1 or 2 triceratops." Of course, the girl did not know what a triceratops was. She only asked, Is it delicious?" General Tai laughed out loud. "Delicious? Of course it's delicious. However, the triceratops is also very powerful. Its 3rd horn can discharge electricity." Over the past few decades, countless people have died to the triceratops' electric horn. So my dear daughter, we must be careful. Okay. The girl nodded. She did not know what a triceratops was, but it would be great if she could eat meat. As the days passed, General Tai discovered that the demon spirit's senses and strength were rapidly improving. Her movements were becoming more and more sensitive, and her ability to sense unknown dangers was also rapidly improving. There were even a few times when she had already launched an ambush before her prey had even appeared. She managed to kill the wild beasts almost without suffering any injuries. None of the wild beasts in the banished land were easy to deal with. General Tai knew this better than anyone. He began to worry day by day. What would he do if he could not control this demon spirit one day? He had to make a good plan for himself. General Tai silently lowered his head to look at the girl. He discovered that she had already grown to be around 7 or 8 years old. She held a dagger with a cold glint in her hand, sharpening an arrow. Her gaze was focused, as if there were only daggers and wooden sticks in the world. "Little Yao, do you know what Daddy means?" General Tai suddenly asked. No. The girl did not raise her head. "Daddy means that I'm the most important person in this world to you. You must protect me and treat me as the person you love the most. You must not let anyone hurt me, and I will also protect you. I won't let anyone bully you. If anyone bullies you, I will kill him. Do you understand now?" General Tai patiently guided her. If anyone bullies me, Daddy will kill him, right?" The girl finally raised her head to look at him. Yes. General Tai felt gratified. He nodded repeatedly and said, "But first, you must protect Daddy well. Do you understand?" "Okay." The girl lowered her head and continued to carve the wooden stick. She was so focused, as if she had completely forgotten about the conversation earlier. Sigh. General Tai sighed. A blood moon appeared in the sky, causing the already blood-red land of Banished to become even darker. Chapter 7:18. What exactly is Ashura? Under the starry sky, Lanyan City was exceptionally quiet. Not far from the city, the national monument was even quieter. Countless warriors who had sacrificed their lives for the empire were buried under the huge stone tablets. Lin Muyu was lying on his back under a stone tablet, his hands supporting the back of his head. He looked up at the starry sky and suddenly asked this question. After returning to Lanyan City, he would come here almost every day to accompany Chu Huayin, Qin Lei Hong, and the others in front of the tombstones. It was good to talk, otherwise he would feel suffocated. Shura. Tang Xiaoxi was wearing a dark blue cloak. She sat on a tree trunk at the side, her legs swaying in the cold wind. She said, "Actually, I'm not too sure, but it sounds very powerful." Shura is a hunter in the dark, a natural hunter. It's recorded in the ancient books, but it seems that no one has ever seen a Shura. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and said, "I don't know how Xiaoyin is now. If only we could know which plane she is in, we could go find her and help her get through this." Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly. "Xiaoyin must have lost her memory now. She doesn't know you at all. If you interfere, she might beat you up. Oh right, if you want to know where Xiaoyin is, Maybe you can ask for help from the God realm. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao Fairy can help us. No, the Demon Emperor told me in my dream last night. He said that Xiao has signed a divine pact with a blazing angel called Shi Yan from the Western Heaven Realm, and can no longer help us. He didn't say anything else. He said that he was afraid of activating the divine pact and causing Xiao to lose all her cultivation. In any case, he told us to be careful. I see. Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, then what should we do? Are we just going to wait like this? I wonder how Xiaoyin is doing now. She must have suffered a lot by herself. Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. Xiaoyin has already tasted the bitterness and humiliation of the 3 realms in the 6 paths of reincarnation. My chest hurts when I think of her suffering in some unknown place. Xiaoxi, my heart aches for her. Tang Xiaoxi fell into silence for a few seconds before she muttered, I also feel sorry for Xiaoyin. It's all my fault. If you want to blame someone, blame the demon tribe. If Yaoji of the demon tribe hadn't controlled your mind, Xiaoyin wouldn't have ended up like this. As she spoke, Lin Muyu clenched her fists and said, within a year, I'll definitely wipe out the devil race completely from the continent. Tang Xiaoxi was slightly surprised. Mu, are you serious? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. We have to be decisive. Otherwise, leaving the devil race in the Tongtian Gorge will always be a big problem for us. The Demon Emperor told me to be careful. There must be other strong enemies. Before the strong enemies come, we must first wipe out the devil race and unify the entire continent. Xiaoyin, the 7 Seas Tang sect has been rebuilt. What are your plans for the future? The 7 Seas Tang sect has Tang Zong. I've already imparted all of the Fire God's seal to him. I believe that with Tang Zong's comprehension, he'll have great achievements in 3 to 5 years. The Tang sect won't need me then. I think. I want to be with you and wait for Xiaoyin to return. Lin Muyu suddenly smiled. And then stay by my side. I was worried that you said you'd stay in 7 Seas City. If that's the case, I'll miss you. I'll have to fly for a long time just to see you. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but feel flustered. She smiled sweetly and said, really? Lin Muyu didn't look at her. She continued to look at the sky and said, I'm not a plant. When I was in the Nether Spring realm, I already thought that if I love someone, I should treat them with all my heart. I'm a person with the sovereign persona. Since I was lucky enough to awaken the sovereign persona, then I'm also lucky enough to have you and Xiaoyin. Aren't you afraid that Xiaoyin will be jealous? Tang Xiaoxi asked carefully, afraid that his answer wouldn't satisfy her. Lin Muyu took a different approach and said, I'll thank the heavens if you're not jealous. I'm not worried about Xiaoyin. Tui, what kind of person do you think I am? I'm saying that because I didn't misjudge you. In the distance, a group of royal guards dressed in the armor of the royal guards were waiting. They watched the young man lying on the nation-guarding monument that was revered by the world. If it was anyone else who dared to be so disrespectful, they would have been dragged out and beheaded. However, the person in front of them was the Qin Emperor, Lin Muyu. He was the person who turned the tide. Furthermore, he had such a close relationship with Chu Huaying and Qin Lei when they were alive. Presumably, the 2 of the 4 heroes of Lanyan who had died for the country wouldn't blame him for anything. Early in the morning, amidst the rumbling sounds of nooses, Shangyang City's north gate was opened. Countless commoners who were waiting to head out to farm or hunt filed out of the city. When it was close to noon, a group of royal guards appeared and sealed the city gate, preventing commoners from entering. There was no other reason for this. One of the empire's 3 kings, Feng Jixing, was going to arrive very soon. Outside the city, the flags of the empire's purple Yinghua flower and Prince Xian were intertwined. The number of people Feng Jixing had brought with him was not a lot, but it was not a small number either. There were 500 light cavalry troops accompanying him, and their extravagance was far from that of some dukes and marquises. After all, Feng Jixing had stepped into the divine realm a long time ago, and a forged celestial lattice had allowed his abilities to multiply. Now that he had obtained 2 divine weapons that were substandard divine weapons, it was clear that his abilities had improved by leaps and bounds. There was no need for him to worry about being assassinated. A row of cavalry troops opened up a path at the front. They held onto wooden shields, and all of them wore solemn expressions. After the 200 cavalry troops entered the city, a big horse finally galloped into the city. It was Feng Jixing, who had been waiting for a very long time. He felt very vexed at having to rely on the nobility, but those officials said that this was a rule passed down from their ancestors, and that they could not go against it. Therefore, he could only put up with all of this. Following behind the cavalry troops, Feng Jixing wore a set of light gray armor and golden battle robes. Having stepped into the divine realm, he appeared even more handsome, causing the commoners in the city to be stunned. Then should we believe in Prince Feng Jixing? He's so handsome. It's no wonder that such a character can eliminate the traitors of Peace Country. I wonder when Prince Xian will be choosing his concubine. I'm so excited. With Feng Jixing's ability, he was naturally able to hear the commoners' whispers. However, he pretended that he did not hear them. His left hand held onto the reins while his right hand held onto the hilt of the Crimson Phoenix sword. He wore a relaxed smile on his face as he kept on greeting the commoners on both sides of the road. Feng Jixing was only tempted by the matter of choosing his concubine, but he would definitely not act on it. He knew why he had come to Xiangyang City this time around. Xiang Yu was the southern country duke, a feudal lord. Therefore, Feng Jixing would definitely make a trip to the south once a month to meet with Xiang Yu. He would have a drink or two with him, and chat about some trivial matters regarding the empire and Lanyan City, using this to probe Xiang Yu's heart. Feng Jixing knew that if Xiang Yu were to create trouble in the south, the empire would probably sink into another internal strife. Lin Muyu did not have the time to deal with such public relations. Therefore, Feng Jixing could only trouble Prince Xian. In the city, a group of guards went up to welcome them. Right in front was a general who wore 2 golden general stars. After getting off his horse, he knelt by the roadside and said respectfully, "I'm Xiangyang City's military superintendent commander Lu Hao. I'm a country protector general, and have been sent by the southern country duke to escort Prince Xian to the Mingshan Army's headquarters." General Lu Hao, it's been hard on you. Get up and lead the way." "Yes, Your Highness." Lu Hao got on his horse and gave the order. "Turn the horses around and invite Prince Xian to the central camp." The cavalry was about to move forward when a commotion suddenly rang out. Feng Jixing quickly looked over and asked, "What's going on?" A captaincy said, "I don't know. It seems that someone wants to petition." Petition? Feng Jixing was stunned. The word petition had a long history. It was a way for commoners to express their wishes to the upper echelons. There were probably people who knew that today was the day Prince Xian would come to Xiangyang City. Therefore, there were people who wanted to petition. Since he was not in a hurry to head to the central camp, Feng Jixing waved his hand and said, "Let whoever wants to petition in." Yes. Very soon, an elderly man came to the front of the cavalry under the protection of 2 guards. He quickly knelt down and said, "Your Highness, my name is Zhou Yang. I make a living selling medicine in the north of Xiangyang City. A few days ago, a group of people came and smashed up my medicine shop, snatching away many expensive medicinal herbs, and causing me to go bankrupt. I went to the magistrate's office to lodge a complaint, but no one paid any attention to it. Your Highness, please seek justice for me." Feng Jixing turned around and dismounted from his horse. He helped the old man up and said, "Elder, please get up. Tell me, who was the one who smashed and robbed your medicine shop? I'll help you get justice." It's someone from the Tang clan. It's Tang Wei's distant cousin, someone called Tang Wu." "Tang Wu?" Feng Jixing frowned and said, "Elder, please return home first. I'll send someone to investigate this matter. Don't worry, we'll definitely seek justice for you." "Thank you, Your Highness." The elderly man turned to leave. However, he had only taken a few steps when his body suddenly trembled, and he fell down in astonishment. Fresh blood had soaked through his clothes from his chest, and an arrow could be faintly seen piercing through his head. He had been shot dead. "Who is it?" Feng Jixing was enraged. He raised his hand and pulled out the Crimson Phoenix, bellowing, "Who dares to kill the innocent before me?" The crowd on both sides panicked. A few burly men dashed out while carrying black cloth in their hands. They were also holding on to crystals that were flashing with electricity. Those were the energy crystals used to detonate the magic crystal cannons. Feng Jixing had participated in the development of the magic crystal cannons, and naturally knew about these. However, how was he to leave now? There were at least 10,000 people in the entire Shangyang city's North Square. If he were to leave, these people would all be sending themselves to their deaths. This bunch of B***stards. Feng Jixing mumbled. Boom, boom, boom. Purple light soared into the sky. The explosive prowess of the magic crystals was no small matter, and the square seemed to have been vaporized in an instant. The people in the core zone had no time to escape, and their bodies were instantly vaporized. A mushroom cloud soared into the sky, and the prowess of the explosion swept out in all directions, turning the houses and city walls into dust. Buzz! A shockwave continued to impact into the city. In the core zone, Feng Jixing stood in the deep pit, surrounded by a solid wind shield. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked into the distance and bellowed furiously. B***starred. I'm going to kill you. In a corner several hundred meters away, a middle-aged guard silently looked into the distance and mumbled. Princess Wei, forgive me for my incompetence. If I can't kill Feng Jixing, I won't be able to repay you. I can only die. He slowly drew out his dagger. Pa pa pa. A bolt of lightning flashed before him. It was Feng Jixing. He had already heard Tang Xian's prayer through his psyche power. You. Tang Xian took a few steps back. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and looked at him. Is it Tang Wei? Tang Xian didn't say anything. Feng Jixing's overwhelming aura surged towards him, and he had no way to defend himself. His spirit was instantly crushed, which meant that he had admitted it. Die. The Crimson Phoenix waved its hand, and Tang Xian's body instantly turned into a pile of dust. Chapter 719. What? Prince Xian, Feng Jixing, was assassinated? In the central tent, Xiangyu slammed the table and stood up, bellowing fiercely. Nonsense! How is Prince Xian now? Prince Xian is fine. He's pacifying the commoners in the city, and will come over in a while. General of the South Zhao Haishan's countenance was ashen. He knew what this assassination meant. Have you found out who did it? Xiangyu asked with narrowed eyes. We've found out. It's someone instructed by Princess Wei's retainer, Tang Xian. They used a few magic crystal cannons to explode Shangyang City's north gate, killing and injuring over 4,000 innocent commoners. Where's Tang Xian? He's already been killed by Prince Xian. How muddle-headed. Xiangyu clenched his fists, his entire body trembling as he said. What on earth is Tang Wei thinking? Is she really that reckless? She even dares to assassinate Feng Jixing. Is there anything she doesn't dare to do? Zhao Haishan frowned and said, Duke Yu, this matter definitely won't end peacefully. From what I see, the people Feng Jixing brought with him have all been killed, leaving him alone. If Feng Jixing were to come here to denounce us, we can only hand over Princess Wei. However, Princess Wei is Duke Yu's wife. I think we might as well beat her at her own game. With that, Zhao Haishan made a slashing gesture. His meaning was clear. No, Xiangyu seemed to have lost all his strength. He sat down on the chair weakly and said, Tang Wei wants to force me to fall out with Feng Jixing, forcing me to take revenge for the Tang clan. But I can't do that. I, Xiangyu, am a hero who has done my best for the empire and the people of the world. How can I do such a disloyal thing? If I kill Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu will definitely lead her troops to the south. Who will be able to stop Lin Muyu's 500,000-man army? Even if I kill Feng Jixing and defeat Lin Muyu, how will I face Her Highness Qin Yin when she returns one day? Zhao Haishan was stunned. Do you still think that Her Highness Qin Yin can be resurrected in the Shattered Cauldron continent? Why not? Xiangyu was unafraid and he said, Her Highness Yin possesses the divine personality of an overgod and is protected by the heavens and the earth. She will definitely be able to overcome all the difficulties and come back to life. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing firmly believe this, and I, Xiangyu, firmly believe this as well. Then, if Feng Jixing comes to denounce us, what should we do? Nothing much. Bring 500 soldiers to the Southern Duke residence, and invite Princess Wei over. This. Zhao Haishan pondered for a moment, then cupped his fists and said, Yes, Duke you. The sound of training resounded in the camp. Numerous cavalrymen galloped forward and forth, practicing the tactics to deal with demons. Although the valiant dragon camp had won the battle in Tongtian province, and the Mingshan Corps of Shangyang City probably wouldn't have a chance to encounter demons again, they still practiced this tactic, hoping to have another chance to fight demons again one day. Although the valiant dragon camp had won the battle in Tongtian province, and the Mingshan Corps of Shangyang City probably wouldn't have a chance to encounter demons again, they still practiced this tactic, hoping to fight demons again one day. Below the Yuan Gate, there were messy horse hoof prints. It was muddy after the rain. Pa! A pair of pure black battle boots stepped into the muddy water. A large part of the golden cloak behind Feng Jixing had been blasted away by the magic crystal cannons, and there were many gray marks on his face. He appeared to be in a very sorry state. When he stepped into the Yuan Gate, a group of captaincy from the Mingshan Corps came up to him and went down on one knee. Greetings, Prince Exi. Rise. Where's the Southern Duke? The Southern Duke is waiting for your highness in the camp. He sent us to receive you. Is that so? Feng Jixing's eyes narrowed, and he said with strong killing intent, lead the way. Yes. The group quickly entered the central tent. They saw Xiang Yu taking off his military uniform and carefully removing the star insignia on his collar. He was only wearing a set of white clothes and appeared calm. Southern Duke, what's the meaning of this? Feng Jixing asked with a frown. Xiang Yu turned and cupped his fists. I, Xiang Yu, have not been able to control my wife well, causing the people of Shangyang City to be implicated for no reason. Prince Xian almost died as well. Xiang Yu knows that he has committed a grave sin, and is willing to be stripped of his military rank. I only wish to be a lowly soldier, and continue to serve the empire. I hope that your highness can grant my wish. What a move to advance by retreating. Feng Jixing let out a cold laugh in his heart and said, Southern Duke, you're doing this to protect Tang Wei, right? Yes. Xiang Yu's gaze was stern as he said, Tang Wei is Duke Lan's granddaughter. Back then, Duke Lan betrothed Tang Wei to me, and I owe him a great debt of gratitude. When Her Highness Yin was still around, Xiang Yu had a debt of gratitude toward her. Xiang Yu can't let Her Highness Yin down either. Therefore, I can only do this. I hope that your Highness Prince Xian will agree to my request and strip me of all my titles and military ranks. I only hope that you can spare Tang Wei's life. A group of generals in the surroundings dropped to their knees and shouted, Your Highness, the Southern Country Duke is a meritorious minister of the country. Prince Xian, please show mercy and pardon Princess Tang Wei for her rash action this time around. Feng Jixing felt extremely pressured. This was Xiang Yu's territory, and all the generals here were Xiang Yu's men. There was also an army of 100,000 soldiers outside. Therefore, Feng Jixing did not dare to act too recklessly. Your Highness, please pardon Tang Wei's death sentence. Xiang Yu knelt down on one knee and said. Feng Jixing fell silent for a few seconds. Then he suddenly raised his palm gently, and a stream of Wind Element Law's divine powers supported Xiang Yu's arms. Xiang Yu gritted his teeth and also circulated his divine powers to contend against Feng Jixing's powers. Two waves of domain powers clashed in the air, and in the blink of an eye, Xiang Yu's forehead was already covered in sweat. On the contrary, Feng Jixing appeared to be more relaxed. His forged immortal character kept on absorbing the spiritual powers in the world to replenish his depleted divine powers. With such domains contending against each other, Feng Jixing was naturally at an advantage. Xiang Yu felt a chill in his heart. This time around, he was certain that Feng Jixing's cultivation had surpassed his in all aspects. Even if he were to rebel and take action here, he might not be able to kill Feng Jixing. On the contrary, he would end up as a disloyal minister. Once Feng Jixing returned to Sunset City and raised an army of 300,000, it would be his end. Thinking up to there, Xiang Yu slowly stood up with Feng Jixing's power, and his face was filled with guilt. Feng Jixing couldn't help but secretly find it funny. He said, This isn't Duke Nan's crime, So naturally, no one will punish Duke Nan for his crimes. However, Tang Wei's attempt to assassinate this prince is a serious matter, and she must be punished. From today onwards, Tang Wei will be stripped of her title as a princess, and she will be placed under house arrest in the Duke Nan residence. She will not be allowed to interact with anyone, and she will not be allowed to participate in any political or military affairs for the rest of her life. Violators will be executed immediately. In addition, take out 5 million Jining coins from Shangyang City's treasury to compensate the families of those who died. Xiang Yu hurriedly knelt down again. Thank you, Your Highness, for your pardon. At the back, Tang Wei's face was ferocious. She pointed at Feng Jixing and scolded. Feng Jixing, you are a dog of the Qin family, and a dog that bites. Just you wait. There will be a day when you will get your retribution. I curse you. Curse you to die under the sword. Impudent. Feng Jixing raised his palm abruptly, and dimensional powers pierced through space, landing a loud slap on Tang Wei's face. Immediately, 5 lines of guidance appeared very clearly. Feng Jixing's countenance turned cold as he said, Tang Wei, you've done disobedient things time and time again. It's one thing that Her Highness Yin tolerated you when she was still alive, but now that you've failed to assassinate me, you're still spouting nonsense. How could Duke Lan have such a foolish descendant? If you're not a pig, then watch how Princess she will be revered by the people of the world. As for you, you'll only be reviled by the people of the world. Don't be impudent anymore, or else you'll have to bear the consequences. Xiang Yu was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat. Feng Jixing had acted too quickly, and he didn't even understand how his attack could land on Tang Wei's face from 10 meters away. Right now, Feng Jixing's cultivation was too terrifying. Your Highness, please calm down. I'll take care of my wife. Xiang Yu's countenance turned cold. Men, send Tang Wei into a room in the manor and lock the door tightly. Without my permission, no one is to let her out. Yes. 2 guards went up and held Tang Wei's arms. When she wanted to continue cursing, they used a piece of cotton cloth to cover her mouth. Xiang Yu could not help but take in a deep breath. If he had a choice, he would probably never be willing to face this arrogant and foolish woman, Tang Wei, in this lifetime. Feng Jixing threw a glance at Xiang Yu and said, Southern Duke, it's really hard on you. Xiang Yu was at a loss, not knowing what Feng Jixing's words meant. Let's go. Feng Jixing turned, pressed his hand on the hilt of the Crimson Phoenix saber, and said, Accompany me for a walk in the military camp. I want to see if the Mingshan army's battle prowess has improved or not. Yes, Your Highness. Men, prepare a horse for Your Highness. In the empire's northern border, Yunzhong province had a vast territory, and it was the largest province in the entire Great Qin Empire. At the same time, it was also one of the most prosperous provinces. Its commercial prosperity was second only to the Northern Ridge province, where the imperial capital, Lanyan City, was located. At the same time, its military strength was not inferior to the imperial capital. After the reconstruction of the Iron Blade Army, it had a scale of nearly 200,000 soldiers, under the personal command of Northern Duke Luo Xian. In Muyu City, the winter snow from a few days ago had not yet melted, but the sky was filled with heavy snowflakes. Just as the warlocks had said, it had been a cold spring for the past few years. Perhaps the entire spring would be spent in heavy snow. In the Duke's mansion, Luo Xian walked to the courtyard with an iron spear in his hand, letting the snow fall on him. He raised his face, enjoying the falling snow, closed his eyes and said, How's the war in the north? Next to him, a general with 2 stars on his shoulders cupped his fists and said, Duke of North, the northern desert has only sent a small force this time, no more than 3,000 people. They are only here to harass the villages and counties in the northern region. I have already sent 10,000 soldiers with heavy shields to defend against the northern desert archers with heavy shields and long spears. If the northern desert is not eliminated, it will always be a big problem for us. Luo Xian said lightly. I understand. But it is snowing now, and it is difficult to transport food. If we send cavalry, I am afraid the fodder for the horses will be a big problem. Besides what? Luo Xian looked back at him. Besides, the tribes in the northern desert are connected to the 8 wilderness plain in the northeast. The southern Nan family of the demons is stationed there. They have 100,000 cavalry. Once the southern Nan family gets involved, I am afraid we will suffer a great loss. Got it. Luo Xian's eyes lit up, and he said, pass down my order. Hold the northern line of defense. Don't take the initiative to attack. As long as we hold the line, the northern desert and the demons can't do anything to us. Yes, Duke of the North is wise. I will do it now. Chapter 720. Pa. In Tongtian City, the sound of birds flapping their wings reverberated in the air. Wei Chou, who was sitting on the railing of the pavilion, was surrounded by strands of ghostly power as his eyelashes fluttered up and down. He only opened his eyes when this power was completely transferred into his qi, only to see a messenger bird hopping on the grass beside him with a letter tube tied to its leg. It was Yu Yu's letter. Gently opening his hand, the messenger bird spread its wings and flew to Wei Chou's palm. Taking out the letter from the tube and looking at it carefully, Wei Chou's face could not help but turn livid. What is it? Whose letter is it? Not far away, Situ-sun, who was drinking wine, asked. It's the commander's. Wei Chou was still used to treating Lin Muyu as the commander of the Longdan army camp, even though in fact he was the rightful commander of the Brave Dragon army. Oh, Situ-sun asked. What did His Highness say? See for yourself. Situ-sun took the letter and just glanced at it before turning pale with fright. This? His Highness is not coming back and only ordered us to launch an attack? Yes. Wei Chou said lightly. He ordered the 200,000 troops of the Brave Dragon army to launch a large-scale attack, and use the magic crystal cannons to break the demon race's sky canopy, and attack the Tongtian Gorge step by step, clearing the demon race from the Tongtian Gorge. At this time, Fengxi walked over with his helmet under his armpit. He seemed to have heard the conversation between the two and said, His Highness must have other important things to do. But Wei Chou hesitated for a moment. Fengxi smiled. This subordinate can somewhat understand your Highness's decision. Now that the Longdan army camp has a strong army, coupled with Marquis Wei Minyulin's external troops, we have a total of 300,000 troops in Lingdong province. In addition, we have several thousand magic crystal cannons, and close to 200,000 magic crystal cannons. Adding Ouyang Yan and Lord Chu Chu, the 2 God Realm experts, the demons are no longer a match for us. Even if your Highness isn't here, we can still defeat the demons. Duke Wei has ruled the Longdan army camp for many years. Don't you have the confidence to do so? His Highness has given you this mission, which proves his trust in your strength. Wei Chou couldn't help but laugh. I understand. Citizen took a deep breath. When do we attack? We have been waiting for this day for a long time. The equipment is ready, the rations are sufficient, then pass down the order. We will attack Heaven's Gorge tomorrow. No one is allowed to enter rashly. After entering Heaven's Gorge, build a camp every 10 miles, until the entire Heaven's Gorge becomes our camp. Yes, this subordinate understands. A heavy snow fell on the eastern border of Lingdong province. The sky was filled with goose feather-like snowflakes. On the eastern coast, the sound of the tide was endless. The sound of the wind was like a million marching troops. The snow on the beach had accumulated to a thickness of nearly 20 centimeters, and there were 2 lines of footprints on the snow. At the edge of the sea, a young man and a young woman were looking at the East Sea in the distance, feeling extremely carefree and heroic. Mu, you didn't bring me here just to look at the sea, did you? Tang Xiaoxi raised her hand to tighten the collar of her robe, and said with a smile, In my impression, you're not a very romantic person, especially towards me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile, and held Tang Xiaoxi's hand, saying, Don't worry, from now on, I will treat you the same way I treat Xiaoyin. The knot in my heart has been untied. I won't restrain myself like that anymore. Really? Of course, but this time, I really didn't come to the eastern coast to take you out for a walk. Then why? Tang Xiaoxi narrowed her beautiful crescent moon-like eyes and asked with a smile. Little Shi, do you feel anything? It's right here. Feel. Tang Xiaoxi was confused. No, I just feel cold. It's not cold. When you breathe the air here, do you feel different from before? No. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. What's wrong with you? I don't know either. Lin Muyu frowned and said. You just feel that there's something different in the air? What is it? I can't explain it clearly. These days I've been feeling that there's something in the east fusing into the air, like... He pondered for a long time and said, like an invisible element has entered our world, so I always feel a vague uneasiness in my heart, feeling that there must be something in the east. The East Sea is a forbidden area. No one has been able to go there for tens of thousands of years. You're not thinking of challenging it, are you? Yes, I really want to go and have a look. Lin Muyu widened her eyes and looked at the endless East Sea, saying, I'm now one of the 3 kings of the empire. I must protect this land until Xiaoyin comes back. I feel a faint threat from the east. If I don't go and have a look, I won't be able to sleep well. But, Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips. I've just found you, and we haven't even had a few good days together, but you want to bring me to court death. I feel so wronged. Haha, it's fine, you stay here and wait for me. I'll be back soon. I'll definitely be back in a day and night. No, I want to go with you. I'm worried about you going alone. All right. Lin Muyu nodded. Then when do we leave? Let's go now. Okay. 2 rays of light shot into the sky, flying close to the sea surface towards the distant sea, instantly reaching supersonic speed. Not long after, the sky was filled with dense clouds, lightning flashing. It was the storm domain, also the forbidden area of the East Sea. Fly there directly. Lin Muyu smiled, her body wrapped in dense supreme divine power, and like 2 sharp arrows, she shot through the entire storm domain with Tang Xiaoxi, directly arriving at the other side of the storm domain. Further ahead, it was still a boundless sea. Occasionally, a few small islands appeared, but there were no inhabitants on them. Just like that, after flying for half a day, it was still the sea in front of them. Immediately, Tang Xiaoxi felt a little uneasy. There's not even a place to rest, Mu. Are we still going to continue flying forward? Once we run out of energy, we'll drown, or be eaten by the sharks in the deep sea. Lin Muyu frowned. The faintly discernible power in her spirit sense also seemed to be a little blurry. Could it be an illusion? Was it really just a boundless sea in the east, and there was nothing else at all? At this moment, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly pointed to the south. Look, there's something over there. On the surface of the sea, there were a few small black figures. Lin Muyu hurriedly turned around and flew over. As she got closer, she realized that it was a few warships, and the flag on the bow was very familiar. It was actually the flag of the Iha nation. Could it be Long Qianlin and Ding Shi's men? Without another word, Lin Muyu flew straight over and landed on the deck with a bang. Who's there? A group of Iha nation soldiers on the warships pulled out their weapons and pointed them straight at Lin Muyu. Among them, those with slightly sharper eyes already recognized them. Oh my god, it seems to be the Empire's Qin Emperor, Lin Muyu, and the Fuguo Princess Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu walked leisurely on the deck and said, Call your highest officer over to speak. A man with the insignia of a chiliarch on his shoulder walked over and said, I am Iha Nation's chiliarch, Zhang Wanchang. Greetings to the Qin Emperor Lin Muyu and Princess Tang Xiaoxi. Zhang Wanchang, where are you going? Lin Muyu asked. Zhang Wanchang said respectfully, Reporting to your highness, under the Dragon Commander's orders, we are heading to the outer regions of the East Sea in search of a new world. A new world? Yes, we are only 3 scout warships in charge of exploring a new territory. Zhang Wanchang looked very cautious as he said, Iha Nation is already declining. The food on the dragon-shaped island can't feed so many people, so we can only look for a new place to live. I hope that your highness can let us go. I thank you for sparing my life. How can you be sure that there is a new land on the sea? Tang Xiaoxi asked. We are not sure. Zhang Wanchang shook his head and said bitterly, This is the 7th day of our voyage. If the wind is with us, we can still sail. Otherwise, we can only rely on the sailors to row. However, this is our mission. If we can't find a new land, we can only die on the sea. The food on the ship can last for another 40 days. After 40 days, we will probably die. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and patted Zhang Wanchang's shoulder. Then I wish you good luck. Oh yes, if you can go back alive and see Long Qianlin. Remember to tell him that I will always remember Chu Huayin's death. One day, I will take his head to comfort Chu Huayin and Qin Lei's souls in heaven. Yes, Lin Muyu nodded at Tang Xiaoxi. The two of them stepped on the ground and flew up, disappearing from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. There wasn't a single island nearby. The continuous flight had indeed caused Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to feel exhausted. They needed to eat and rest. Moreover, Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique had explored a radius of nearly 200 miles. There weren't any strong energy waves within 200 miles. It seemed that the East Sea was really just a boundless sea. They turned back and returned to the Empire's territory. 3 days later, the 3 warships from Iha Nation were still slowly sailing in the sea. Zhang Wanchang's hand was on the hilt of his sword. He held onto the railing and looked into the distance. His face was indescribably lonely. Perhaps he was really going to die in this boundless sea? However, as the 3 warships were sailing slowly, everyone didn't notice a figure in the sky looking at them from afar. Zhang Wanchang's cultivation was higher, so he was the first to feel that something was wrong. He quickly raised his head and a sharp light appeared in his eyes. Who is it? Swoosh! A figure broke the space crack and stood directly 100 meters away from the bow of the warship. It was a middle-aged expert in his 40s. He was wearing thick armor, and his face was full of arrogance. His eyes were as sharp as swords, which made people shudder. He said, "Those who trespass into the sea of the Tianji Empire will be killed without mercy." "Who are you?" Zhang Wanchang said angrily. "The dead don't need to know so much." The newcomer laughed. "Shield wall, bows and arrows." Zhang Wanchang ordered hurriedly. Dozens of soldiers from Iha Nation quickly formed a shield wall. However, the unfamiliar expert in the distance suddenly raised his arm. Divine power was enshrouded in his palm, and he suddenly struck with his palm. Bang! The main warship was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, and it was smashed into pieces along with the seawater. Oh my God! The group of soldiers from Iha Nation were scared out of their wits, but they couldn't escape. The other 2 warships were also destroyed by the unfamiliar expert's 2 subsequent palm strikes. He floated above the water, raised his hand, and grabbed the neck of a squad leader of Iha Nation who had fallen into the water. He said with a smile, "Let's go. Follow me to see His Majesty. Your tongue is very precious." Chapter 721. Jiejia. A bone-chilling cry rang out from the barren land. No one knew what creature it was, but there was no doubt that the beasts living in the land of exile were powerful existences that could kill without leaving a trace. This was a huge hunting ground, a publicly acknowledged hunting area for the survivors of the land of exile. In reality, the hunting ground was just a restricted area. If it wasn't for the powerful beasts living here, then the environment was rather vile. However, the wealth hidden in the hunting ground couldn't be ignored. Whether it was the beasts hunted or the spoils of war from fighting humans, it was enough to make anyone's eyes turn red. After half a month of recuperation, the bullet hole on General Tai's shoulder was nearly healed. He held his bow in his hand, and a demon spirit that had grown up a lot followed beside him. Perhaps she wasn't a girl anymore, but a young girl. In just half a month, the demon spirit had grown a lot taller. She was about 1.6 meters tall, about 16 years old, and the tip of her budding beauty could already be seen. Although she was only wearing a simple beast skin dress, it couldn't hide her natural beauty. The beast skin wrapped around her pair of rapidly developing peaks, ready to burst out. There were 2 daggers at her waist, the tips of the daggers moving up and down as she walked. The enchanting S-shaped curve made General Tai couldn't help but take another look. This demon spirit was indeed a monster. She was already devastatingly beautiful at such a young age. Gulp! General Tai couldn't help swallowing his saliva. The young girl walked quietly, her brows slightly knitted as she said, "Dad, this is the hunting ground?" "That's right, the hunting ground." General Tai nodded and looked around. The hunting ground was filled with wreckage from another world. There were some rusty mechs wrapped in steel, and some broken ship cabins. These were all things that had been banished from another world. However, as long as they came to the land of exile, they were already seen as a pile of trash. There was no energy in the land of exile. Be it mechs or battleships, they couldn't operate anymore. Furthermore, there wasn't even a pile of bones to be seen in the hunting ground. It wasn't that no one had died here, but that they had been eaten after they died. Be careful. General Tai suddenly stopped and looked ahead. It was a huge field surrounded by barbed wire. It was like a football field, and it was filled with weeds that were half a person's height. There were also large holes in the barbed wire. No one knew what this place was or what it was used for, but strands of energy pulsated from the weeds. General Tai could not help but frown. He opened his palm slightly, and streams of ruler's combat flames appeared. The corner of the young girl's mouth curled up, as if she had already seen through the danger. She said, "It's a wolf." There's a patch of blood-red hair on its forehead. It's Blood Wolf. General Iron's body trembled. One of the most bloodthirsty species in the entire Banished Lands. Looks like we've been targeted by this Blood Wolf. Be careful, little Yao. Blood wolves aren't radiance beasts. They're extremely powerful, and their claws can tear through steel. Got it. The young girl's voice was very calm. She had already stepped into the weeds, and with a light push on the barbed wire, the 10-meter-long barbed wire fell down with a crash. It had already rotted into a pile of wreckage. Her beautiful eyes swept the area in front of her, and she said faintly, "Dad, in that direction. Shoot an arrow to lure that beast out. I'll kill it." General Tai did not know where the young girl's confidence came from, but he knew that he would definitely reap something if he did as she said. She did not seem like a demon spirit, but more like a demonic creature that was born to hunt demon spirits. As for what exactly she was, General Tai had no idea. Swoosh. The sharp arrow wrapped in a steel arrowhead pierced through the weeds. General Tai possessed the cultivation of the Holy King realm, and his strength was vigorous. This arrow was shot over 1,000 meters, and a howl could be heard from the weeds. Following that, a powerful aura rippled out. As expected, the blood wolf had come. Rustling sounds could be heard as the weeds tumbled continuously. A huge creature pounced over, its forehead covered in blood-red fur and densely packed golden lines. The blood wolf's brown eyes were filled with killing intent as it leaped up and charged at the young girl. Swoosh. The young girl bent her body slightly and threw the dagger in her left hand. Dang. The blood wolf's fur was surprisingly tough, and the dagger was unable to pierce through its skin. The blood wolf's momentum continued to descend, and with a roar, its sharp claws pounced towards the opponent's chest. The young girl suddenly spun around, bringing with her a small whirlwind and a soft mist, causing the blood wolf's sharp claws to lose direction. Bang! The blood wolf's claws fell into the wilderness. The young girl took advantage of the situation and punched out with her left fist. Her fist was filled with golden energy, a power that General Tai could not see through. Boom! The small fist landed on the blood wolf's neck, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Oh no! General Tai was greatly shocked. The blood wolf's bones were exceptionally tough, like steel. This stupid demon spirit actually chose to meet force with force. Wasn't she courting death? However, the thing that broke wasn't the young girl's fist, but the blood wolf's neck. The force of the punch caused the blood wolf to roll back more than 10 meters. The young girl's eyes were shrouded in a layer of blood red. She pounced, opened her mouth, and bit the blood wolf's neck. At the same time, the dagger in her right hand stabbed into the blood wolf's heart. Ayo, ayo, ayo. The blood wolf struggled for a few minutes before it finally stopped moving, dead on the ground. The young girl slowly stood up and wiped the blood from her mouth. In fact, she actually hated the smell of blood. There were a few frightening wounds on her shoulder, the work of the blood wolf's sharp claws. Great, well done. General Tai happily flew forward. This blood wolf was very majestic, at least 150 kilograms, enough to eat for half a month. Moreover, the blood wolf's fur could be used to ward off the cold, and its bones and claws could be made into weapons. In the land of exile, the blood wolf was a great treasure. General Tai didn't even look at the young girl. He was busy moving the spoils of war. A trace of displeasure flashed across the young girl's face. She gently knelt on the ground and stuck out her tongue to lick the wound on her arm. The wound quickly stopped bleeding, and then it began to heal. General Tai grabbed the blood wolf's head and slung it over his shoulder. He said with a smile, "This is great. I didn't expect to have such a great harvest on my first trip to the hunting grounds. Little Yao, let's go back. We shouldn't stay here for long." The young girl didn't reply. She stood up and looked into the distance at the depths of the barren land surrounded by the barbed wire. "What's wrong? Is there anything else?" General Tai asked. The young girl didn't say anything. She only nodded slightly. Could there be a big deal? General Tai was overjoyed. He quickly buried the blood wolf's corpse in the bushes and pulled out a shining sword from his waist. He said, "Let's go. Let's bring Dad to have a look." Okay. In the depths of the barbed wire, a dilapidated house sat there. Perhaps it wasn't really a house, but a huge shipping container. There were many holes on the outside of the container, and when the cold wind blew, it let out a ghostly howl. The metal door was ajar, and it was pitch black inside. Nothing could be seen clearly. "What's wrong? Is there anything inside?" General Tai asked. The girl furrowed her brows, but didn't say anything. She quickly sniffed the air with her delicate nose, and a strange smell filled her nose. It was the smell of wine. No one would have thought that there would be wine in the banished lands, and it was a very fragrant wine. Go in and take a look," General Tai said in a commanding tone. The young girl didn't retort. She reached out to push open the rusty metal door. Swoosh. The sound of wind came. It was a military saber. The young girl hurriedly retracted her hand, but it was too late. The saber was too fast, and it left a shallow wound on her wrist. As her strength increased, she was no longer injured by ordinary attacks. In fact, the wound didn't even bleed. However, this wasn't the only attack. Suddenly, bolts shot out from the pitch-black house. The young girl's reaction was extremely fast. She quickly bent down and rolled on the ground. The bolts flew past her head and into the bushes, kicking up mud. That was close. Bam! The door suddenly collapsed, and a short figure jumped out of the container. It was a dwarf, a human less than a meter tall. He held a shiny steel saber in his hand. It was very eye-catching. The dwarf ran very quickly. As he ran, he cursed, "Darn girl, you actually entered my domain. Just you wait. I'll kill you one day." But the dwarf only took a few steps before he suddenly couldn't move. His body was controlled by a kind of domain power. Looking up, he saw a strong man descending from the sky, waving flames in his palm. The man sneered and said, "Short winter melon, you actually dare to hurt my daughter. Are you courting death?" You. Before the dwarf could say anything, his head suddenly flew off. General Tai's sword could split mountains, and the dwarf's cultivation was extremely low. How could he be General Tai's match? "Little witch, are you all right?" General Tai asked. The young girl got up from the ground and shook her head. Go in and see what's inside." The young girl stepped in and found that there were a few crossbows that had run out of arrows facing her. A ray of light shone in from the hole in the container, illuminating everything inside. The container was like a treasure trove in the ruins. It was filled with fine wine, and there were also rows of medicine and weapons. The dwarf had probably relied on these to survive in the hunting grounds. Otherwise, with his strength, he would have been killed long ago. On the weapons rack, a short saber that glowed faintly and had words that the young girl didn't recognize engraved on it attracted her attention. The dwarf's weapons were not ordinary sharp. The young girl immediately fell in love with it. She grabbed the short saber and hung it at her waist. At that moment, General Tai walked into the container and quickly sniffed. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Great, this is heaven. There's wine. My God, there's actually tequila. There's even canned food. Ha ha ha. This dwarf really knows how to enjoy himself." Chapter 722. General Tai almost danced with joy. Canned food had a very long shelf life and could be stored for a very long time. And these wines were supreme treasures. Coupled with the weapons, medicines, and so on, it was like he had discovered a paradise. Unfortunately, this was a hunting ground, and there would be other hunters coming to visit. General Tai didn't feel that his Saint King realm cultivation was enough to protect these treasures, so he decided to take them back to his residence. Just like that, after 3 trips, most of the treasures were finally sent back to the cave he lived in before nightfall. After piling up a large amount of resources, the cave seemed much more crowded. General Tai found some salt and spices from the treasures, chopping off one of the blood wolf's legs, and starting to cook delicious meat soup. Meanwhile, the girl continued to sit quietly on the meadow, staring at the wound on her wrist in a daze. After a long time, the fragrance of the meat soup grew stronger. "Hey, little witch." General Tai suddenly looked at her and asked, "Do you drink?" The girl shook her head slowly. "You don't drink." General Tai frowned and said, "Every night in the banished lands is extremely cold. It's impossible not to drink. This fine wine is good stuff. Not only can it ward off the cold, but it can also make a person drunk, making them forget all their worries and worries. Come, have some with your father?" The girl shook her head. "I don't drink." "What did you say?" General Tai raised his eyebrows. "You dare to disobey even your father's words?" "I don't drink." The girl's voice was very calm, but it was unquestionable. She sat there quietly and didn't say another word. Tui, what a freak. I'm afraid she doesn't understand human language. General Tai was in a good mood, so he didn't argue with her. He filled a bowl with meat and threw it to the demon, then grabbed the wolf's leg bone, and took big bites of the juicy meat. He chewed, then opened a bottle of wine and gulped it down. After taking a big gulp, he shouted, "This is great! Ha 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 ha! Great!" The girl didn't say a word as she watched General Tai gulp it down. In the middle of the night, the pot of meat was almost finished. Behind General Tai were 4 empty wine bottles. His face was flushed red as he leaned against the wall of the cave in a drunken stupor. He gently rubbed his stomach, his face filled with satisfaction. At this moment, he glanced at the demon spirit 2 meters away. Once again, he realized that this demon spirit was simply a heaven-sent beauty. Under the dim light of the bonfire, the demon spirit's exquisite face was beautiful beyond compare. Her pair of beautiful eyes were as clear as crystal. She quietly sat there with the corner of her mouth slightly raised, making her appear extremely charming. Her pure face and flirtatious figure fused together with the darkness of the night, making people unable to resist falling into a daze. "Little Yao, come to Daddy," General Tai ordered as he leaned against the wall. The girl didn't say anything and just sat quietly on the meadow. Humph. General Tai stood up. Although he was drunk, his steps were extremely steady. He approached in a few steps and grabbed the demon spirit's wrist. His eyes flickered with a sharp light as he said, "What's wrong? Are you trying to rebel? Don't forget, if I hadn't saved you, you would have been snatched away by a hungry wolf." The demon spirit raised her head and looked at him in silence. Perhaps, the demon spirit didn't know what was about to happen. General Tai looked down and saw the beast's skin covering the demon spirit's chest slightly open, revealing a captivating redness. This caused his desire to surge even more. He quickly grabbed the demon spirit's other hand as his eyes flickered with desire. "The banished land is a silent domain. The heavens must have pitied me and bestowed you to me. Since you've become my daughter, then you should let Daddy enjoy your body. Otherwise, how are we going to get through the long night? Don't resist, don't force my hand." The demon spirit calmly looked at him and said, "Daddy, are you hurting me?" "What did you say?" General Tai asked impatiently. The demon spirit's gaze was calm. "Daddy said that you'll kill everyone who hurts me. And now you're hurting me. What nonsense are you talking about?" General Tai grinned. "I'm helping you understand the joys of being a woman. After tonight, you'll naturally understand everything. You'll realize that you'll never be able to leave Daddy again. Let go." The demon spirit's voice was very calm, but it sounded like a command. "Stop struggling, it's useless." General Tai's mind was in a mess. He moved his stubbly mouth towards the girl's neck, but before he could get within 10 centimeters, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. It was the girl kicking him with all her might. Arg! General Tai retreated a few steps in pain, almost unable to straighten his back. His face was covered in beads of sweat. He suddenly pulled out the long sword at his waist and said angrily, "Little whore, I can save you. but I can also kill you. Whoosh. The sword turned into a streak of light, stabbing towards the girl's chest. However, after a clang, the sword only pierced into the rock wall. The young girl had latched onto General Tai's right arm like a phantom. Her snow-white legs abruptly stomped on the rock wall, and General Tai's arm pulled out the steel sword. What are you trying to do? General Tai's face paled involuntarily. With a crack, the girl's palm swept out, snapping General Tai's wrist. His entire wrist was deformed, but his hand was still holding onto the longsword. She pressed the longsword against his chest at a strange angle and slowly pushed it in, causing blood to flow out. The girl gripped General Tai's sword-wielding hand tightly and said softly, "Daddy said that he'll kill everyone who bullies me." General Tai could not move at all. He was a Holy King realm expert, but under the girl's control, he was unable to retaliate at all. Just like that, he pierced his own heart with his own sword. Clang! The blade pierced through General Tai's body and nailed him into the rock wall. Just like that, he was nailed to the wall. The girl bent down and grabbed the wild grass around the meadow to wipe the blood off her palm. She looked at General Tai's corpse with a seductive and beautiful smile. "Daddy, I'll live on well in the land of exile. I won't be bullied by anyone. Go in peace." Swoosh! He spat out a purple flame from his palm, and in the blink of an eye, the flames engulfed General Tai's corpse, reducing it to a pile of ash. Even the steel sword, which was not of a low grade, was melted. What a high-temperature flame! A blood moon hung high in the sky, causing the entire land of exile to become even more violent. Rustle! The barefooted girl walked out of the cave, stepping on the sand and stones. She looked at the blood moon and stars in the sky and could not help but sigh. Who am I? What am I? Roar! The roar of a wild beast came from afar. The girl grasped the hilt of the sword at her waist. With a slight force from her palm, a blood-red flame enshrouded the sword. In the blink of an eye, the steel sword made by the dwarves was burned red. But strangely, the steel sword did not show any signs of melting. Instead, it made a clanging sound. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of cannon fire rang out continuously in the northern region of the Tongtian province. Purplish-red mushroom clouds rose into the sky, causing the huge blue canopy to buzz. After more than 10 consecutive cannon attacks, the canopy finally ran out of energy and collapsed. The energy barrier that had separated humans and demons for tens of thousands of years had finally disappeared under the iron hooves of war. The bombardment of the magic crystal cannons brought with it streams of sharp air currents, causing the imperial war flag in the Longdan army camp to flutter. Everyone raised their shields to resist the impact of the air currents. Wei Chou rode on his warhorse and formed an astral wall in front of him. He narrowed his eyes and said, "The canopy is gone. An era is coming to an end." Situ-sun gripped his sword. King's combat flames surged into his arms. He smiled and said, "Give the order. I'll lead my brothers and kill our way in." "Don't be in such a hurry." Wei Chou waved his hand and said, "Order the heavy artillery unit to move 5 kilometers forward, and then we'll move. If we can flatten the entire Tongtian Gorge without losing a single soldier, why not?" "Yes, I understand." Battle banners fluttered in the wind as they entered the Heaven's Gorge in an orderly formation. Hundreds of savage tribe soldiers pushed the magic crystal cannons into the Heaven's Gorge, emitting an unpleasant sound as the cannons rumbled. And in the distance, nearly 10 miles away, the demon army was already waiting in formation. Qianfeng was not willing to give up on the Heaven's Gorge. There were even huge black shadows slowly moving in the sky. They were giant flying snakes. "They've sent out the flying snakes." Situ-sun swallowed his saliva. Wei Chou nodded and waved his hand, saying, "Heavy artillery battalion, dispatch the gooseneck cannons to defend against the enemy. The giant flying snakes must be killed 2 kilometers away." Yes. Small magic crystal cannons were pushed out one after another. They weighed less than a third of the magic crystal cannons. Moreover, the cannons were extremely long, rising into the sky like a goose's neck. These were magic crystal cannons modified by Qin Ziling. They were specially designed for the giant flying snakes, and had a firing range of 3 kilometers. Moreover, Their accuracy was much better than ordinary magic crystal cannons. Lin Muyu would never fight a battle. She was not confident of winning. If she did not know all this, she would not have mobilized her troops so easily. At this time, the dragon-shaped island was also busy. Warships gathered at the port, and the neighing of warhorses could be heard from the land. Densely packed soldiers carried armor, weapons, and other strategic resources to the ships. Smoke rose from the open ground in the depths of the island, and anyone could tell that a great battle was imminent. In the Iha country's palace, Qin Yi's face was pale. He held the handle of the king's blade and said, "Is everything ready?" "Don't worry, Commander." Ding Shi, dressed in military attire, knelt on one knee and said, "This subordinate will soon leave the dragon-shaped island with General Long. I hope that commander will take care of himself." Qin Yi's expression was somewhat reluctant. He moved his aged feet down the steps and held Ding Shi's arms. His voice trembled as he said, "Old friend, it's been so many years. I know you hate war, but I've ordered you to participate time and time again. As long as this time, we can return to Lingnan. I won't force you to do anything you don't want." Ding Shi smiled slightly. "Commander, save these words for the future. I don't even know if I can return alive." Qin Yi. At this time, a messenger's voice came from outside the palace. "Commander, someone has sent a map. He said that he must present it to you." "What map?" Chapter 723. In the sky above dragon-shaped island, two figures stood thousands of meters high. The people on the ground couldn't see them at all, but they could see everything on dragon-shaped island. They were none other than Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi, who had just returned from the East Sea. "Do you think Qin Yi will give up?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "I don't know," Lin Muyu frowned. "First of all, Qin Yi might not believe our map. Second, Qin Yi is old. Returning to his homeland is his biggest dream. He might not be able to resist this temptation." "Xiaoxi, have you really informed Minulin's army?" "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi was a little worried. "Mu, I actually don't understand. Why did we tell the Iha nation about the celestial pole continent? I'm afraid only the two of us know about this in the entire Shattered Cauldron realm. Why did we tell the Iha nation instead of letting the Empire take precautions?" Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Regardless of whether what the people on the merchant ship said is true or not, the existence of the celestial pole continent is already inevitable. The Iha nation is on Dragon-shaped Island, which is located in the east of Lingdong province. If the celestial pole continent really attacks, Dragon-shaped Island will probably be the first to bear the brunt. At that time, Long Qianlin and Ding Shi will become the first line of defense for the humans of the Shattered Cauldron realm. I don't want them to die in vain. A day ago, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had found a cargo ship that had gotten lost on the sea in the East Sea. From there, they learned about the tip of the iceberg of the celestial pole continent. It was a plane that was completely different from the Shattered Cauldron realm. Furthermore, it was also a powerful enemy in the future. The existence of the celestial pole continent made Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi confused, let alone others. "I really hope the people on that cargo ship are lying to us," Tang Xiaoxi said softly. "The possibility isn't high," Lin Muyu said with a frown. "If that's the case, the Qin Empire will be in imminent danger." "Yeah." Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, "For now, we can only hope that the Longdan army camp can quickly eliminate the devil race and sweep away the scourge of the devil race. Then the whole empire can work together to resist the upcoming war. If it wasn't for the fact that I had to quickly return to set up a defense, I really wanted to go to the celestial pole continent and see what that continent, which is on the same plane as us, looks like." Tang Xiaoxi remained silent. In the palace hall of the dragon-shaped island, a simple map was unfolded. Qin Yi, Long Qianlin, Marquis Sunset Manning, Ding Shi, and the others were looking at it together. "How is this possible?" Man Ning wriggled his chubby palm, took the wine cup from the waiter, and said, "To the east of the dragon-shaped island is an endless sea. For tens of thousands of years, I've never heard of another continent. How is this possible?" Qin Yi narrowed his eyes and said, "General Long, this map was sent by a mysterious person. Do you think the celestial pole continent really exists? Long Qianlin cupped his fists and said, Commander-in-Chief, let's not talk about whether this celestial pole continent really exists or not. However, the map's records are reasonable and based on evidence. It even marks the military strength of the three empires in the celestial pole continent. I think we have to guard against it. Ding Shi stretched out his palm and stroked the rough map. The figures on it were just drawn. He thought for a while and read the words on it, saying, the total area of the celestial pole continent is more than 7 times that of the Shattered Cauldron realm. It is ruled by 3 empires. Among them, the Tianji Empire is the strongest, with 800,000 elite troops. The Celestial Empire has the largest territory, occupying 40% of the continent. Its 6 major armies have a total military strength of 1.5 million. The Blackstone Empire has the smallest territory and the smallest population, but it also has 500,000 elite troops. If what is recorded on this map is true, I'm afraid that the doomsday has come for both the Iha Empire and the Qin Empire. Qini said, now that our 3 armies are on standby, are we going to attack the Lincoln province or not? If we miss this opportunity to strike with Qianfeng, I'm afraid there won't be a next time. Qin Huan said, Father, don't think so much. Let's attack. This is a great opportunity for us to take revenge. The majority of the Longdan army camp's troops have already entered the Heavenly Gorge. The Lincoln province and the Lingdong province are both empty. Our 200,000 troops are enough to wipe them out. What happens after wiping them out? Ding Shi frowned and said, we and the Empire will both suffer heavy losses. At that time, if the Celestial Pole continent really starts a war, how are we going to contend against them? Qin Huan's face was filled with disdain. He laughed loudly and said, Commander Ding is indeed old. A groundless map is enough to stop you in your tracks. With your courage, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to lead the Iha Empire's warriors back to their homeland. Long Qianlin was stunned. Qin Huan was openly provoking Ding Shi like this. How could this old general endure it? Young Highness, we need to consider this matter at length. What? Is Commander Long afraid too? Qin Huan said indifferently. Not afraid but worried. Long Qianlin said, we've sent out so many fast ships to search for new land in the Eastern Sea region, but not a single one has returned. What does this mean? If it weren't for the powerful sea fleets in the distant sea region, I wouldn't be able to provide a reasonable explanation for this matter. Being afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind, how are you going to restore the Iha Empire? Qin Huan's expression was extremely unsightly. He was in the pro-war faction. Being the young highness of a mere dragon-shaped island obviously couldn't be compared to being the young highness of the Lingdong. Are we going to fight or not? Marquis Man Ning narrowed his eyes. I think it's better to let the commander decide. Qini sighed helplessly and waved his hand. Forget it. Since the 2 marshals have no intention to fight, let's just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Hopefully, Qianfeng can consume more of the Empire's military power. Ding Shi and Long Qianlin glanced at each other in silence. They looked at the map in front of them with ashen faces. 3 days later, the devil race retreated step by step. More than half of the Heavenly Gorge was already under the control of the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu left Tang Xiaoxi and Ouyingyan to guard the Longdan army camp. She had to go to the Eastern Sea region to take a look. The existence of the Celestial Pole continent was like a nightmare tormenting him. The Shattered Cauldron realm hadn't been unified yet, and a new powerful enemy had appeared out of nowhere. He secretly lamented his bitter fate. He originally thought that he would be able to return with beauties after fighting for 10 years in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Now, it seemed that he would have to fight for another 10 years. Moreover, the outcome was unpredictable. The unknown enemy was really too powerful. Whoosh! After flying nonstop for nearly a day, Lin Muyu flew like a sharp arrow with the power to split the waves. She sped across the sea surface. After a careful calculation, she had flown for about 2,000 kilometers. She could already see ships in the distance. Furthermore, the fluttering flags were completely different from those of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoosh! With a sway of her body, She soared into the sky and hid among the lingering clouds. Overlooking the sea, a fleet came into view. It was a fleet consisting of at least 50 warships. The leading warship was nearly 200 meters long. Furthermore, it was a fortress ship, and the number of soldiers it carried was definitely not small. Furthermore, there was a huge creature on the deck of the fortress ship. It was a huge lizard with wings and red scales all over its body. Lin Wuyu's heart sank. A word was on the verge of coming out of her mouth. Western dragon? What kind of existence was this celestial pole continent? The flag fluttered in the sea breeze. It was a war flag with red clouds on it. Lin Wuyu didn't know which empire it belonged to. She knew almost nothing about this place. She didn't care about that anymore. She had to understand this place first. Lin Wuyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. The people of the Shattered Cauldron realm didn't know about the existence of the Celestial Pole continent, and the people of the Celestial Pole continent definitely didn't know about the existence of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoever understood the opponent first would have a greater advantage. At night, in a tavern in a small city near the sea in the Celestial Pole continent, a blue-clothed dancer swayed her enchanting body and looked at the customers in the tavern in a licentious manner. She sang an unbearable song, and customers would throw copper coins, or even silver coins onto the stage from time to time. There were even bold customers who walked up to her and struck up a conversation. "How much can I pay for you to appear on my bed tonight?" The dancer smiled and didn't say anything. In an inconspicuous corner of the tavern, a young man dressed in a dark blue robe sat there quietly. He held a huge bamboo cup and drank the malt wine inside. To be honest, the wine in the Celestial Pole continent was far inferior to that of the Empire. The tavern was the place where one could understand a plane the best. Lin Wuyu had been here for half a day and had a slight understanding of this place. This was just a small city in the Tianji Empire. The flags of those warships she saw during the day were the flags of the Tianji Empire. The emperor of the Tianji Empire was called Baiming Yuan, so this empire belonged to the Baiming clan. The Tianji Empire was very powerful. At least, that was what their people thought. "I'm the man who's going to become the sacred martial god." A young and tender voice came from afar. Lin Wuyu raised her head and saw a young and tender face. It was a young man who was about 17 or 18 years old, but he had an unruly look on his face. "Sacred martial god? With just you?" A scorching slap landed on the young man's face. A person who looked like a mercenary stepped on the young man and pressed him down hard a few times. He said, "In the past tens of thousands of years, there have only been 5 sacred martial gods in the empire. Who do you think you are? You want to become a sacred martial god? Wipe my boots clean first, you good-for-nothing who has high expectations but low ability." Bullying was the same in every plane. Lin Wuyu didn't meddle in other people's business and continued to drink. At the same time, she learned some things about the cultivation world in the Celestial Pole continent from the mercenaries' conversations. The classification of strength in the Celestial Pole continent was very clear. The strongest person was called the Sacred Martial God, who was at least at the Divine Emperor realm. There were more than 2 sacred martial gods in the whole continent, which was very terrifying. Next were the Sacred Martial Kings and Sacred Martial Venerables, who had the strength of Divine Kings and Divine Venerables. Then came the Sacred Martial Warriors. The Sacred Martial Warriors were experts with the cultivation of the sacred region. They were only legends in small towns like this. Many people had never even seen the legendary Sacred Martial Warriors. The Tianji Empire had a total of 5 Sacred Martial Gods, 11 Sacred Martial Kings, 112 Sacred Martial Venerables, and more than 2,000 Sacred Martial Warriors. Their strength was not ordinary and terrifying. The more Lin Wuyu heard, the colder she felt. Did the Shattered Cauldron realm really want to go to war with such a strong enemy? Chapter 724. Hi, brother. A slightly sharp voice sounded in her ear. When Lin Wuyu turned around, she saw a young man limping over with a crutch in his hand. He was about 25 years old, wearing white linen clothes with several cloth bags hanging on his waist. His face was full of stubble. He probably didn't have time to take care of it, but the light in his eyes told everyone not to underestimate this lame young man. He sat opposite Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Only if you buy me a drink, I can help you read your face." Face. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Man, give him a glass of wine." Dang. A full glass of barley wine fell in front of the cripple. He didn't rush to drink it. Instead, he took a deep breath and said, "The fragrance of malt wine is really as charming as a girl in the wilderness." As he said this, he drank a big mouthful of wine. His stubble was stained with wine, which looked very unhygienic. Lin Muyu didn't care about this. She just smiled and asked, "Now can you tell me? How is my face?" "You." The huckster squinted his eyes and carefully looked at Lin Muyu. He said, "Brother, although you are handsome and have an extraordinary appearance, your eyebrows are dark. I am afraid that you will be in big trouble in the next few days. If you keep talking, I guarantee that you will be in big trouble now." As a god, Lin Muyu naturally didn't believe in this kind of fortune-telling. In any case, he was also a god who could listen to the prayers of the people. What fortune-telling? Mortals just believed in it. The killer flashed through Lin Muyu's palm, but the cripple was scared out of his wits. The young man in front of him was obviously not as simple as he looked. The momentum that he emitted was simply suffocating. Maybe he was a young master from the imperial capital who came to this poor place just to travel around the continent. Also, the golden light that flashed through his eyes might be a monster. "What is your name?" Lin Muyu didn't make things difficult for him. Instead, he began to ask questions. He needed someone to tell him everything about the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Pole continent. Lu Sanpao, people call me Lu Bai. Lu Bai's entire body was trembling, and his voice was trembling as he said, "This kid can be considered somewhat famous in Clear Desolate City. Some people call me Divine Image." Lin Muyu didn't care about these things. Her expression calmed down a little, and she said with a smile, "Well, Brother Lini, I've been cultivating in the deep mountains with my family for many years, so I don't know much about the outside world. Can you tell me something about the Tianji Empire and the mainland? I'll treat you to a drink until you're satisfied." Lu Bai was taken aback. It had been a long time since someone had been so extravagant as to treat him to a drink. Moreover, looking at the appearance of this kid in front of him, he really did seem to be a rash young man who had just come out from the depths of the mountains to cultivate. In an instant, Lu Bai's expression became arrogant. He placed one leg on the bench and said arrogantly, "Since that's the case, then little brother, you should listen to your big brother's words. Buddy, give me another jar of wine. I want to drink to my heart's content." "Lu Bai, did you bring enough money?" "Don't worry, I met a benefactor today." A jar of wine was placed firmly in the center of the table. Lu Bai pulled a drumstick from the roasted chicken and gnawed on it until his mouth was greasy. He said, "Brother, since you have cultivated in the mountains for many years, you must have some skills. However, there are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the Celestial Pole continent. Even if you have some skills, you must be careful. Otherwise, you may lose your life because of your rashness one day. This is my first advice to you. Be careful when you encounter problems. Remember, you can't force yourself." Lin Muyu deeply agreed and nodded. "Yes, and then?" Lu Bai wiped the grease from the corner of his mouth and continued, "If you want to talk about the Celestial Pole continent, this continent is really big. If you run at full speed from the west to the eastern border of the continent, it would take as long as 2 months. Furthermore, there are a total of 5 powerful and invincible forces on the continent. They are divided into 3 great empires and 2 great tribes." "What do you mean?" "The 3 empires are the Tianji Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire. They fight every year, but they have never been able to determine the winner in more than 1,000 years. More than 3,000 years ago, there was a supreme overlord who once unified the Celestial Pole continent, but in less than 100 years, his empire collapsed into 3 kingdoms. Among the 3 empires, our Tianji Empire is the strongest. One of the 3 sacred sects in the cultivation world, the Tianji sect, is located in our Tianji Empire. In terms of national strength, the Celestial Empire is second, and the Blackstone Empire is the worst, but we are not too inferior. Tell me about the cultivation world. What's the matter with the 3 sacred sects? Lin Muyu asked with a frown. In fact, it's very simple. It's just like a sect. The continent is divided into several levels according to the strength of the sections. The first is the sacred sect, the second is the king sect, the third is the heavenly sect, and the fourth is the earth sect. The whole celestial pole continent is divided into 3 king sects, which are the Tianji sect, the Tianjue sect, and the Thunderflame sect. Next are the 7 great sects, 59 heavenly sects, and more than 3,000 earth sects. Some of these sects have only a few people, while some have tens of thousands of people. It's impossible to count them in detail. It's also because these sects constantly provide excellent martial artists for the various empires that the cultivation world of the celestial pole continent can continue to prosper, and even be protected by the immortal realm. Protected by the immortal realm? Lin Muyu frowned. What does that mean? Lu Bai smiled. I'm not very clear about these supernatural things, although I can see through the mysteries of heaven and know about yin and yang. Stop bragging. It's too serious. Cough coughed. Lu Bai could also see that Lin Muyu was not an ordinary person. He smiled and said, the people of the celestial pole continent have passed down legends from generation to generation. It's said that the immortal realm once sent gods down to the mortal world to teach the people of the continent how to make fire from wood and how to farm, fish, and weave. Then, they imparted martial arts to some people with aptitude, allowing humans to establish a foothold in this world filled with ferocious beasts and demonic spirits and become the rulers. Farm, fish, and weave. Lin Muyu looked at the clothes of the people around him. Most of them were wearing cloth clothes, and a small number of mercenaries were wearing coarse hemp clothes. In terms of weaving skills, the celestial pole continent was far inferior to the shattered cauldron realm. He smiled slightly and didn't say much. Lu Bai didn't see any clues and continued to speak eloquently. Next, let's talk about our Tianji Empire. The Tianji Empire ranks second in terms of territory, but in terms of population, prosperity of commerce, and strength of military force, it is deservedly number 1. His Majesty is wise and mighty, and his power is everywhere. Crown Prince Hai has extraordinary cultivation, and will be the future leader of the empire. Together with the invincible commander, Bai Minghuan, it's enough for the Tianji Empire to stand tall in the northwest of the continent, and be called an overlord. By the way, you just said that there are demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent. What's going on? You actually don't know about demonic spirits. Lu Bai turned pale with fright and said, I really don't know what your master taught you. If a cultivator doesn't hunt demonic spirits, how can he prove his strength? What exactly is a demonic spirit? Lin Muyu asked a little awkwardly. Lu Bai stroked his beard and said, the essence of a demonic spirit is a kind of monster. A demonic spirit with high cultivation can change into a human form and take human lives. There are many demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent, and they are also the targets of various forces. However, demonic spirits are too strong, and many times, the cultivators are hunted down instead. In short, when you meet a demonic spirit, you must be careful. As he spoke, Lu Bai's eyes shone brightly and he said, demonic spirits are divided into 10 grades, from the lowest grade of 10th to the strongest grade of 1st grade. The first grade is called the Demon Emperor, the second grade is called the Demon King, and the third grade is called the Demon Venerable. Little brother, if you meet one of the first 3 grades of demonic spirit, no matter how profound your cultivation is, listen to me and run for your life. If you're lucky, you can marry a wife and have children. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll die without a burial place. Why will I die without a burial place? Lu Bai smiled. It's very simple. Low-grade demonic spirits like to devour human flesh and blood, completely devouring the human. High-grade demonic spirits are even more cruel. They know how to refine and absorb the essence from the human body. In the end, you will be turned into ashes. It is said that the souls of those who are eaten by the Demon Emperor and Demon King will be eaten as well. Lin Muyu was stunned and didn't say anything. Lu Bai thought that he was afraid and smiled. However, little brother, you don't have to worry. Demonic spirits like to live in remote places. Generally speaking, a city like the one we are in right now has a population of over 100,000. Most of the time, demonic spirits won't come here. If there are too many people, the demonic spirits will also feel afraid. Besides, every province in the empire has Lord Dragon Rider patrolling. If a demonic spirit appears in a city with a population of over 100,000, it will be hunted down. We just have to focus on farming, fishing, and hunting. Dragon Rider? Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. Her mind recalled the huge dragon on the warship she saw on the sea surface. That's right. Lu Bai chuckled and said, they are known as the most powerful army in the Celestial Pole continent, the Dragon Riders. Every empire has trained a sufficient number of Dragon Riders to deal with the upcoming war. The Tianji Empire's Dragon Rider Legion is very prosperous. During peaceful times, their main mission is to hunt demonic spirits everywhere. Although I have never seen a Dragon Rider, the prestige of the Dragon Riders is known by everyone in the Celestial Pole continent. As he spoke, Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu as if he was looking at a freak and said, you are really strange. You don't even know about the Dragon Rider Legion. I really don't know how you grew up. Lin Muyu smiled. She felt that she had more or less understood everything. So she took out a Jinshin coin from her pocket. She gently rubbed it between her palms, and the Jinshin coin immediately turned into a piece of gold. She tossed it to Lu Bai and said, here, thank you for telling me so much. I don't have anything to thank you for. This Jinshin, gold, take it as a token of appreciation. Gold. Lu Bai's eyes instantly lit up. He put it in his mouth and took a bite. He was ecstatic. It really is gold. Little brother, you are indeed not an ordinary person. Haha, thank you so much. Just as Lin Muyu stood up and was about to leave, an invisible force suddenly descended from the sky. The entire tavern immediately fell silent. Everyone was already unable to move. A cold voice came from outside. The Tianji Dragon Rider Legion is here on a spirit hunting mission. Those unrelated to this matter, scram immediately. Demonic spirit. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. However, Lu Bai's face was already pale. It's over. We encountered a demonic spirit. The God Cultivation domain will start charging fees again in October. I hope everyone can make a VIP subscription to support EZ, that you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.